Um, I saw people. I saw those police set a building on fire last night in the morning to see if the news had reported on it. No, of course not. They're only reporting on the cars that on fire by the protesters. Yeah. Ooh. But here, this is start for the context. So if you don't know what happened yesterday, was there were massive protests and demonstrations that took off in Los Angeles, in Paramount, Los Angeles, which is like southern, like south of like downtown LA. Which I love your content. I agree on your take on getting rid of races 2 generations ago. And to be fair, I said like 6 generations ago, back in the day. But thank you.
Sean the Black says, she's my African princess.
Jimmy Macco 3 just subscribed.
Jimmy Mac, thank you for the Prime subscription. Much appreciated. So this is the thing that's like in my face. And welcome Melissa, thank you for the 23 months as well. And so it's like I think it's like freaking east of Compton. There's also protests and demonstrations in downtown LA as well. Because of a few things that happened. Let me grab a link to the timeline. Here, protest erupts as U.S. Attorney says federal law enforcement operation proceeding as planned. A protest erupted in Los Angeles today as the region's top federal prosecutor said law enforcement operations were proceeding as planned across the country. I urge the public to refrain from interfering with these lawful actions. Anyone who obstructs federal agents will face arrest and prosecution, says Bill Esseley, U.S. Attorney in California's Central District. At least 30 officers wearing tactical gear, gas masks, can be seen positioned across the street from a Home Depot in Paramount, south of downtown Los Angeles. It wasn't immediately clear what agency the officers worked for or why they were there. Shopping carts were strewn across smoke-filled streets occupied by dozens of people. Some appeared to throw things towards the officers. At one point, a fire was lit in the street. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says it was on the scene to assist in keeping the peace, but not getting involved with any detentions or arrests. Here's also a video. Wait, the video's actually up here.
All right, everyone, we're giving you a close look right now at what appears to be a closed street, and this is from Paramount, California. This is an area about
so this happened after the one that happened in downtown Los Angeles.
Growing tensions over mass deportations in Los Angeles. This was a scene in Paramount, California today when officers responded to a huge gathering as protesters took to the streets to demonstrate against federal immigration operations. Border Patrol says several arrests were made, and the White House says it is monitoring the situation. At least 30 officers wearing riot gear lined up against the protesters. It isn't immediately clear which agency these officers work for. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says ICE will, quote, continue to follow the law. And it wasn't just L.A. We also saw another standoff between protesters and authorities in New York City. Arrests were made there as well. Today's news comes one day after dozens of people were taken into custody across at least 3 locations in L.A. Our Steve Patterson is in Paramount, California for us. Steve, good evening. What are you seeing there now?
Jose, this all started this morning apparently across the street from a Home Depot, but the tension continues to this very moment. I'll step off and show you behind me. You can see L.A. County Sheriff's Department in full riot gear. We've seen flashbangs be deployed. We know tear gas canisters have gone off. We've seen debris in the streets. We know the FBI says they are looking for several people that they say threw rocks at vehicles conducting operations. This, of course, follows that day of tension raids across L.A. and L.A. County, specifically dozens of arrests being made. We don't know how many arrests or injuries in this police action, but obviously the tension not dying down anytime soon. Jose?
Like, this is coming directly after another raid that happened that the SEIU California president was arrested in. I think this one has it.
Bring back in KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk. Mike, we do know that the president of one of the largest labor unions in California, SEIU, was arrested, went to the hospital after he was injured, and is still detained. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true, Pat. He is in the Metropolitan Detention Center tonight after being arrested by federal authorities after he was protesting, or not even protesting, according to SEIU, just observing what was going on when these federal immigration actions were underway. I want to show you some video because U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley actually released this video himself, and you will see David Huerta in the video here. He's right there in front of the van in the red checkered shirt. You see the agent come up to him, the agent pushes him, and then takes him to the ground. You'll see it one more time. I slowed the video down for you. There he is. The agent walks up to him. It looks like he says something to him, and then you see the agent put his hands on him, and it appears that Mr. Huerta tries to hold his ground there, or footing, and then the agents come in, they take him to the ground and put him in custody. Now, this was SkyCal video from moments after that interaction happened. You can see the tense moments here as he is taken over to a car over there. Ultimately, we know he was taken to LA General to be checked out medically before being transported to Metropolitan Detention Center. And this is a photo from the U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley of
This is crazy. This is insane. How did he speak to an officer of the law? They're gonna try to argue that he was like obstructing justice by standing in front of the van, right? They're gonna be like, oh, see, he's standing in front of the van that just pulled up. You're obstructing justice. You didn't move within the 0.5 seconds that we told you to get out the way. Therefore, we can arrest you and throw you in jail because of it.
Agent's car there. Now, tonight, I did have a chance to speak with SEIU about this arrest. They are understandably very concerned.
See a dear friend and a colleague be tackled and be degraded by our own federal police. It is a day that I never thought I saw in this country. I have been active in the civil rights movement for many years, and never, even the most difficult times for this country, did I imagine that federal agents with this masked cover take down a labor leader in such brutal force. This is an image.
I mean, I know what he's doing here, and it's important to do stuff like this, which is kind of demonstrate that like this is unacceptable, right? That this is unacceptable to like the normal populace because they think that this never happens, right? But like this does happen. This is a pretty much one of the most consistent things that does happen, especially to labor union leaders. Honestly, they used to kill them, like genuinely. Like federal agents used to murder like leaders of labor unions. This is like one of the most consistent parts of being a labor leader. But you have to demonstrate to the normal populace who will see this that like this is not okay. This is not a normal thing that happens, right? Because like they don't know about the history of this stuff, you know?
It's reminiscent of days long gone in Latin America when labor leaders were taken down by dictatorships.
Tonight, SEIU says they do have legal representation for Mr. Huerta. They're saying they're promising to hold federal officials accountable for his detention. But it's unclear tonight whether the U.S. Attorney's Office will actually file charges against Huerta. But I wanted to compare this to a separate situation where two people were arrested and charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office for what was alleged to be interference of an immigration operation. A specific charge was conspiracy to impede an officer. In that case, that couple faces up to 6 years in federal prison. So this is potentially a pretty hefty charge for Mr. Huerta should the U.S. Attorney's Office decide to file charges.
And obviously we'll see more people getting involved. I know Mayor Karen Bass was there today when that happened.
Yep.
She went to see him in the hospital and was very upset about what has transpired today.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. And we...
Oh yeah. Karen Bass 1 day ago, right? 1 day ago on the 6th was super upset and mad about the weaponization of immigration enforcement and the usage of military or violence from said forces to arrest and detain people who are protesting, which is why she's mobilized the police department to do this exact same thing to protesters the next day.
All right, everyone, we're giving you a close look right now at what appears to be a closed street.
In charge. I think you were thinking about getting in my way. Yeah.
And this is from Paramount, California. This is an area about a 15-20-minute drive from downtown Los Angeles, heading due south-southeast. This is a community that back in 2020 had a population of about 53,000 people. The makeup of the residential community there, over 80% is Hispanic, white 4%, black about 9%, Asian about 3%. But the important note here for this community, over 80% Hispanic makeup, this has to do with what ICE is doing, conducting raids through Southern California, 3 of which were done and met with great protests yesterday near downtown Los Angeles in the Fashion District. This area, this is outside of a Home Depot there in Paramount. Home Depots are somewhat known to be a place that, particularly in the early morning hours, and we note that it's just a little after noon, about 12:30 p.m. Los Angeles time, that they have people outside looking for work. You will have individuals hoping that they can get day labor work in construction and other areas. So let's bring in right now former FBI Supervisor Rob D'Amico. Rob, give me a sense of what is happening here. Yes, we can see for ourselves, but what is behind all of this and how you might fear this would play out today?
I did fear this because, again, you now have city and local authorities talking about how the federal authorities are doing things that they're not comfortable with, that they don't want. And, of course, that's a politician doing that. And then that feeds the protesters. And then the protesters see that they're making ground on interrupting this, and that adds more protesters. So as we've seen with riots before, the community gets up to a certain point, and then it just it boils over. And I think that's what you're starting to see. And the mayor making the comments yesterday, and then the FBI director this morning, that's not where the challenge should be. They should be starting to work together and say, look, we have to do these things. It is, the federal prerogative to do certain raids with ICE, and gather with the politicians that are pushing back, because this is going to get dangerous. More people.
I love the small government folks being like, well, it's the federal prerogative. You are now, as the local officials in the local government of a specific area, forced to now accept federal enforcement of laws from the small government party.
We're going to get hurt, and unfortunately, it may turn even more serious.
Let me read to you what the U.S. Attorney Bill Assail has said. Here's his quote: "Federal law enforcement operations
are states' rights. Who knows? Who knows?"
Proceeding as planned this weekend in Los Angeles County. I urge the public to refrain from interfering with these lawful actions. Anyone who obstructs federal agents will face arrest and prosecution. So there is that. But when we look at the presence there, and again, this is a video and camera that we're unable to control right now in our control booth, but we did see clearly the presence of ICE agents there. A lot of the beef yesterday between ICE and the mayor of Los Angeles was that LAPD reinforcements did not come in for a couple of hours. But isn't it typical and protocol, if you will, that police departments don't get involved in civil enforcement operations, civil rights enforcement operations? So what happens if this gets out of control? Do they have the right to call in the police there in Paramount?
Well, they should have coordinated with the police, but I think some of the federal agencies are worried that local law enforcement may give notice or help. There's always that. They even accused federal agents of giving away the raid sites. So I think that was one of the problems. Normally, when you conduct something large, anytime the FBI did something large, we'd bring in the local police to help with that outer perimeter if we knew it was going to be a case like this. We've done raids in Puerto Rico where we arrested huge gangs that were running HUD developments. I mean, taking them entirely over. And we would bring in several hundred police officers to help us cordon that off, to take care of the crowd control, because that's not where federal agents are trained. They don't have the same equipment, they don't have the same training. And then you bring in the local law enforcement to help with that. And again, it gets up to that point where if you can control it early, then it doesn't get that fuel that it needs. It's like a fire. With LAPD taking a couple hours to get involved, I think that's kind of where that boiled over, and then it was harder to get under control. So LAPD, works for the mayor, so it may have been that the mayor was upset that they weren't coordinated with and was
like, I just want to prepare you, because like this is going to get worse, right? George Floyd protests happened just after Trump, right? No, George Floyd protests happened before Trump. It happened summer of 2020, right? And summers are, for a number of different factors, summers are when the most violent protests happen, because it's when the most people are protesting in general, right? That's it. So it was his last year. Yes, sorry, you are correct. This is his last year of protests. I don't know why I thought it was beginning of Biden. Maybe because Biden was out here in demonizing the protests as well. I guess you're right, Chatter. It was during Trump. His final soiree. Also, COVID make them help make them impactful. Yeah. COVID was like 3 years of just stuff happening, and it feels like a blur. It just takes one person to shoot to set this all off. That's not realistic, right? You don't have people like shooting at protests unless it's the cops, right? That's just not a thing that historically has precedent for happening. Not saying that it can't happen, right? But I'm saying that that's just not something that happens at protests historically, right? The people who have violent escalation is the cops. PSL protest today outside of City Hall is going to be massive, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I think this is the catalyst for like the newest stage of protests. They spent a lot of money to make us all forget 2020 to 2023. It's weird because this happens in countries with way less guns. This almost never happens in America where they have the most guns. Yeah, because people aren't, like, despite how people categorize protests in America, people are not showing up to protest to kill people, right? That's not a thing that happens. You feel me? When people get shot at protests, by and large, it's done by, right-wing lunatics like Kyle Rittenhouse, or by the police, right? Like civil protesters, like civil rights protesters, people protesting on behalf of civil rights are not showing up with guns to show up and kill police, right? This is just not happening. I just hate how conservatives have the impossible standard for what are organic developments. Multiple individuals, every violent attendee is used to describe the whole affair. I mean, that's just how that's not even just like conservatives. That's like liberal media as well. Like we see it happening on MSNBC right now with old dude being like, "Hey, there's a bunch of stuff, violence going on here. The local enforcement isn't getting involved and doing what they're supposed to do to quell this violence or whatever." And all they're showing is, this one shot and not like the violence that does happen when people are kidnapped off the streets, right? It's just, it's crazy.
And the local police to help with that outer perimeter if we knew it was going to be a case like this. We've done raids in Puerto Rico where we arrested huge gangs that were running HUD developments. I mean, taking them entirely over. and we would bring in several hundred police officers to help us cordon that off to take care of the crowd control.
Bro, who is this guy, by the way? He keeps saying we. Like, is this person a part of immigration enforcement? Wait, what does he mean? Does he mean like we as in America? Former FBI director. Why is he speaking on MSNBC? Do we care what he has to say? Why not bring up the ACLU? Or like a civil rights organization? Because this is a civil rights issue.
That's not where federal agents are trained. They don't have the same equipment. They don't have the same training. And then you bring in the local law enforcement to help with that. And again, it gets up to that point where if you can control it early, then it doesn't get that fuel that it needs. It's like a fire. With LAPD taking a couple hours to come in.
And when he says control it early so it doesn't get that fuel that they needed, they mean you go in and you like rock up and black bag people off the street quick enough so people don't find out. That's what he means. When he means you go in and you you know what I mean? You go in and you gotta tackle this early so that people you need the local PD involved to kind of quell this before it grows like a fire, right? What they mean is like, yeah, you gotta go in and black bag people quietly and quickly enough so people don't notice that they're gone, and so people aren't mad at us when we take their neighbors, right, and their aunts and uncles and cousins away from them. That's what the Democrats want. They want this to be quick and quiet so people don't complain. Yeah. Which is why they were also funding ICE when they were in power.
And it gets up to that point where if you can control it early, then it doesn't get that fuel that it needs. It's like a fire. With LAPD taking a couple hours to get involved, I think that's kind of where that boiled over, and then it was harder to get under control. So LAPD, works for the mayor, so it may have been that the mayor was upset that they weren't coordinated with and was slow to respond or something along those lines. I think they're going to have to look at it. But that's where I think things happen. And then once it happens,
what is this entitlement? What is this entitlement from these federal agencies to be like, we just rocked up to your local jurisdiction without any notice? Why are you not helping us black bag your freaking citizens? Your people, right? Because it's not just undocumented people. You know what I mean? They're taking citizens and they're arresting them. There's so many, they're taking legal permanent residents and arresting them. Just taking them for no reason. And they're like, well, why can't we do that without you getting mad at us by doing this without telling you? You were supposed to still help us.
That fire starts and that gets that fuel, and it's harder to control at that point.
Understandably so. Rob D'Amico, thank you so much. And for all of you, we're going to continue watching this. It seems like there are a lot of people, many on the sidelines there. But again, you're looking at a major street that's been blocked off in Paramount. It's in Southern California, not too far from downtown Los Angeles. We'll keep an eye on everything for you guys, and we'll be right back.
Like, this is going to get worse. There's no other way to explain this. Fox News obtained intense video showing Customs and Border Patrol agents' perspective inside their vehicles as it's pelted with rocks while attempted to leave an anti-ICE protest in Paramount, California
thousands
today.
of people from across the globe are taking.
You can hear and see the windows and windshields breaking with each hit. Federal sources sent me this tells you this attack could have killed one of the Border Patrol agents or caused a serious crash after rocks broke clean through a windshield, leaving a gaping hole. I don't know if they want to show people that the rocks have an effect on these vehicles. I don't know if that's going to do what they wish it does. And so lawyers showed up to help defend the people told to go away, like violation of constitutional rights that the conservatives hold so dearly. Yeah. Was that a rock? Bro, who threw that rock? Was that Goku, bro? Get that man, right, or women, or NB, a freaking MLB contract. What are we talking about? Calm like a Tom. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Much appreciated. Bro, who is throwing these rocks? Who is throwing these rocks? They broke through the windshield. Bro, imagine, like, okay. I'm offended, right? I'm offended. All of these tax dollars that we're spending on this gear and it gets taken down by some freaking rocks. If you're going to take my tax dollars and it's not going to go into fixing the roads, at least buy better windshields with them. At least buy better windshields with them. His friend says the crazy identities people deserve making it home to their families. I do love how scared they are. Like, they're just like, go, drive. Like, you can't rock up and try to, you think you can just wag back people without people pushing back against it. And this is where the entitlement comes from, right? They are so entitled that they think that, like, yeah, why can't we not just kidnap people? Why are they not letting us just kidnap them? And they're neighbors. Why do they have to be mean to us? Why do they have to be mean to us? They should just sit down and let us, run over them. I had a link. I lost the link I had somewhere. Here's something they brought up a lot about this car burning. Also, does anybody have that Asman tweet? Also, I don't know if anybody has the video of like the building burning that that people are saying that the police did. I didn't see that. Asman almost cried watching these videos. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That would be crazy. This is why they have to censor the resistance in Palestine, because it looks exactly like this. Won't anybody think of the car? Won't anybody think of the car? Those are her civilians, by the way. With the civilian car, Wesley? What are we talking about? The car is not a civilian. It's not a person. I don't know what to tell you. In general, what are we talking about? Like, you're just saying in general, don't hurt civilians? Like, where's the civilian being hurt? Show me. Where in this video is a civilian being hurt? It's a car.
Definitely feel the heat from that.
The car is a civilian. Is that an ice car? I don't know. It's just a car. Up too late. Ice for ice elements. of surprise in LA County, they're going to be required the National Guard at this point. No, it's not too late. They've been detaining people in LA for months, right? The last few months. It just hasn't been this like robust. And this is the time where there was, you know, like a reaction to it. You know? I've already activated National Guard, I thought. Yeah, so the National Guard part of the story is a bit weird, right? Because there's not really any information about like the National Guard, right? Trump said he activated the National Guard. Karen Bass said there was no National Guard. And there hasn't been much reports of like National Guard. And then Trump was like, great job, National Guard. You've quelled the protest after the protest like kind of petered out into the night, which is kind of weird.
We have breaking news now. You are seeing protests erupting in the Los Angeles area tonight as law enforcement squares off with crowds protesting immigration raids in the city. For 2 days in a row, the LAPD has used flashbangs and tear gas to clear demonstrators. The Trump administration is deploying 2,000 National Guardsmen, a move California's governor called inflammatory. And the FBI says it will investigate protesters for interfering with federal agents. Let's get to CNN's Julia Vargas Jones now, who's with protesters who've gathered in downtown Los Angeles. And Julia, what have you seen so far?
Oh, wait, this is the video of the rock throwers? I'm telling you, give this man an MLB contract. Give that man an MLB contract. Bro's arm is crazy. These poor cars are deeply distressed and you're laughing? True. Don't you know these are civilians, chat?
Hello,
Dan
I'm
Bongino
Nikki
said
Shalom.
they're going to be looking into the guy, looking into who did this. You know, it's so weird to hear Dan Bongino be said in like the same sentence as like the director of the FBI. You know what I mean? Like in my mind, bro is like a freaking YouTube personality, and not like, you know, someone who has institutional power. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Hi, Brian. Look, we are here outside the.
If you're also here to hear Kash Patel in the same sense as deputy director of the FBI. I mean, yeah, but like, at least I was aware of Dan Bongino before this whole thing. You know what I mean? I didn't like pay too much attention to like Kash Patel. I'm just like, okay, you know, this is Trump being like stupid stuff. But like having somebody that has like a established like YouTube presence on like, you know, in like the administration, I'm just like, it feels, it's like hearing like freaking like Ben Shapiro, right? Like, yeah, Ben Shapiro's gonna find the guy who did this. You know what I mean? That just sounds weird. That just sounds crazy. Like, yeah, Steven Crowder is like the freaking director of the CIA now. Like, what are we talking about?
Federal building.
Don't give Trump ideas, yeah. Ben Shapiro, as a press secretary, could be content.
In downtown
Honestly, nah, I think Haley also sucks. It doesn't matter to me.
Angeles, where protesters are saying, no, they don't want ICE in Los Angeles. They're chanting out with ICE, release the people that have been arrested. There are about
the transportation secretary.
118 people that were arrested according to the Department of Homeland Security in the several actions demonstrations that took place in Los Angeles this week. Some of them here in downtown Los Angeles, 3 of them on Friday, and then again today in about an hour south of downtown Los Angeles in the town of Paramount. That is where we saw some quite stunning video of protesters, community members stepping in and kind of stepping in the way of federal.
Like, this doesn't seem like much. It doesn't feel like there's like a lot of people who are like getting like or putting their bodies in line. But I want you to remember, chat, that this is the emphasis, right? This is a catalyst event, right? When people finally start leaving their house, more people will start to join them, right? And so we're gonna see whether or not this has staying power, because then more people are gonna get involved, and then more people are gonna be involved, and then more people are gonna be involved, right? Which will then require higher levels of escalation on the part of ICE, right? And hopefully to a point where ICE feels it too costly, right? ICE feels it too costly to go forward with these deportations, and so they just give it up. That's the idea. That's the concept behind, you know, stopping these transports. Right, so that it's not worth it for ICE to constantly flew in a Black Hawk just for ammo. But yeah, that's the point, right? Is that will become costly, right? It's not even just about like the money for ammo and stuff. It's about like the time investment as well. If they're spending so much time, right, trying to finagle themselves through a protesting mass, right? They're not spending that time at deporting other people. And so they might be like, okay, this community is too much, it's too much of a hassle. We're spending too much time to deport too little people. We're going to redirect our focus elsewhere, right? And if that happens all across the country, then hopefully this will galvanize the Democrats to make some change, but I doubt it. This budget bill gets passed as it is unlikely ICE will have a $45 billion budget. It still requires time, right? The idea is to make it so that they don't feel its worth in a specific community, right? There's no way that like this is gonna be like a consistent thing throughout the country. Like, you're not gonna make it like too costly for ICE to exist as a entity, right? Only the Democrats can do that, but like, you know, they're not gonna do anything. But you can push ICE out of specific communities, right? So they go somewhere else, essentially. I just think that this admin will go further. I think that the cost will be seen as opportunity for a different solution, but it doesn't matter. Like, you can't bank your advocacy and your organizing power off of like, oh, they'll use our organizing and our protest to justify further expansion, right? You can't base your advocacy off of that. Because what is the answer to do nothing? Is the answer to you sit there and you let your neighbors, the most vulnerable people in your community, get black-bagged, right? Because, oh, if we do something, then they're going to use that to justify harassing me now. Sorry, I have to let the undocumented, you know, people, our neighbors, our community members, right, be taken, because if I stand up for them, they're going to start attacking me now. I don't think we can base our organizing power off of that. I just don't. Right? Chat, read that stupid Twitter post, I bet. Oh, don't worry. I have the post up, chat. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. Because I feel like I have a unique perspective as somebody who actually read what Martin Luther King had to say about this. If you see ICE trying to do their job, make as much noise as possible, fight the introvert social anxiety. I don't think even the president would be so bold to use live rounds on the community that would justify civilians using their own weapons to protect themselves and their homes. I don't put anything past the Trump administration. genuinely. Right? But the point still stands that there are more of us than there are of them. Right? And there is still power in numbers, regardless of what tactics they decide to use. But the suit guy is mega lib? Yes. You feel me? But we cannot, as a society, let the most vulnerable among us be sacrificed for the comfort of the rest, right? At least not in my political ideology, not in the world that I believe, right? A 2010 study that analyzed 40 years of protest coverage in 5 major newspapers, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, found papers depict protests, even peaceful ones, as a nuance rather than as a necessary function of democracy. They will always frame it this way. Yeah. The infamous Bugs Life scene where Grasshopper's talking about how there are always more ants. I like a Bugs Life. I gotta watch the movie again. Going downtown Chicago next month. I'm very concerned about ICE. My Irish daughter, who seems to be concerned, seems to think we'll be fine. I don't understand her not seeing the writing on the wall. Something happens. She's like, how is that legal, or why is this happening? I sound insane when I tell her that we are in a fascist country. Yes, this is true. I will say that, like, I know I won't speak to your situation. I don't know how old your daughter is, to be fair, right? But there's only so much that you can personally do, especially if you're not planning on canceling the trip anyway. But there are steps to take to just protect yourself and to keep yourself safe. Karen Bass said, "This is a difficult time for our city. As we recover from this unprecedented natural disaster, many in our community are feeling fear following recent federal immigration enforcement action across Los Angeles County. Reports of unrest outside the city, including in Paramount, are deeply concerning." We've been in direct contact with officials in Washington, D.C., and working closely with law enforcement to find the best path forward. Everyone has a right to peacefully protest, but let me be clear, violence and destruction are unacceptable, and those responsible will be held accountable. I mean, this is like the bog standard liberal response. You can literally copy and paste this exact response, right, to 2020 during the BLM protests, by the way. The exact same thing. It just is. You have a right to protest, but not like that. And then that's kind of the conundrum between the right to protest, right? Your rights don't matter, right? You don't have any rights. You only have rights in as far as the system will allow you to utilize them, right? There is no right to free speech. There is no right to bear arms. There is no rights, right? There's no right to protest, right? Because the system can essentially limit your utilization of those rights as far as it chooses, with no recourse from you, essentially. I was translating, that's not my belief. I know, I understand, right? I'm just saying it just in general. You have a right to fall in line or be violently reprimanded. Exactly. Exactly. And so I don't expect any politician to say anything other than this, right? Because they are a part of the system that decides what rights you do and do not have, right? Like, Karen Bass is correct to say, like, you have a right to peacefully protest, but not a right to violently protest, right? Because what Karen Bass is saying you can peacefully protest and I won't care about you, but if you violently protest, then I will utilize the power of the state against you. Right? That is what Karen Bass is saying. And Karen Bass does have the power to do that. Right? Because you don't have any rights. Right? What you do have is numbers. Right? What you do have is community. What you do have is your neighbors. And with numbers, they cannot possibly act against all of you, right? They can't. And by peaceful protest, she means in the space and the manner that she chooses. Yeah. Standing in the road, violence. Blocking traffic, violence. You know? Quietly posting on Twitter, potentially violence. Right? But maybe okay. Thinking things, you know, safe. Right? There is no protest that they will allow that is meaningful, because they can't. Right? They can't. And this is the question about, like, what are protests supposed to do? What are protests supposed to accomplish? Right? When she says you have a right to peacefully protest, protest for what? To change the minds of, like, ICE officials? Right? Like, protest what? Like, what are you supposed to protest? Who are you supposed to protest to? And what for? What about? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Hey, don't shoot. Go, 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 go. It's right there.
Oh yeah, for sure they caused this fire. 100% they caused this fire. 100%. 100%. It was smoking when the camera turned away, right? 20 seconds later, it's ablaze.
Oh, where's that guy at? Lit.
But is this going to be reported on like this one is? Right? Are you going to see this one be reported on the same way that this one is? Probably not, no.
That one guy that's all fucked up?
But this will be used as justification that, like, oh, these protests turned violent. They were setting fires. Great job, babe. Ugh, it's a Cam Higby link. Breaking massive fireworks shot directly at police line and hits its target. Wait, Cam is in this group. I will say, too many phones. Too many phones. Just said something last night. What do you mean? I mean that there are too many people with too many phones. right? That's what I mean. Especially in this clip. Phone. Bring a burner? Yeah, if you bring a phone at all, right? Put the phones away, cover your face. Yeah, it's like it's typical like protest etiquette. You know what I mean? Like this specific like well, first of all, it's not even really a line. And more this is just like a I don't know what you would call this. Is what I'm understanding about modern protests, where is the line between everyone recording protests to show what's happening, to having a counter police narrative versus not having phones and not capturing people's faces, or giving law enforcement more information on you than you need. It's about effectiveness, right? And like, what are you trying to accomplish? You feel me? That's kind of the question to be asked here. Is like, I guess this is the line of people. Right? But like it's important to capture like what's happening here in this instance, like the police setting this fire. But it just feels like a lot of phones, you know what I mean? And maybe because it's the social media era. It's a lot of phones. How many of those people willing to throw the phone down to react / hope? I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like I hate the Civil War movie, but it's kind of like what the Civil War movie talked about a little bit. You hate it? Yeah, I think it's a bad movie. Like from like a film perspective, it's not good. But at least it's it does address this specifically. Right? That like when you are like the like media, you are oftentimes just either put yourself or other people in harm's way just to like get the footage in the shot. Uploaders need to blur people's faces, in my opinion. Uploaders have a lot of different responsibilities, like clearing the metadata from the event from the video that you take in the first place, right? Not posting it with your, or not posting things that are the protesters are doing that is illegal, right? If you're going to post it at all, things like that. Just doing it in a way that protects the movement while documenting the police reaction and things of that nature, right? But yeah, speaking on like, okay, before that, speaking on National Guard, because the National Guard story is a weird story as well.
Immigration officers as they were staging for a potential raid there. Brian, we are also hearing the calls for the release of, you can hear it from David Huerta, a prominent activist and union leader here in Los Angeles that was arrested as part of these raids. The National Guard, we are expecting the National Guard to arrive in Los Angeles soon after President Trump authorized about 2,000 of them to come in. Now, we also did hear from Governor Gavin Newsom his statement saying that he thinks that this will only fan the flames of these protests, which right now are quite small, even though these images I know are striking. Not sure if we have those right now, but earlier today in Compton, just near Paramount, where these ICE presence was known earlier today, we saw a car set on fire. We could see protesters with Mexican flags setting that car on fire. That's, again, just an hour south of where we are. Just to give you that sense of
Silence kind of funny.
How how dispersed these actions
Just as Luigi. Wait, did I miss the Luigi dude? Oh, I see him.
are. Just to give you that sense of how dispersed these actions are and how they are targeted these specific locations where ICE raids are.
They're doing all these raids and arrests publicly with the show of force in blue states to intentionally provoke a reaction out of the masses so they can any percent speed run martial law. I disagree with that. They can martial law regardless. You know what I mean? Like they don't need, and this is the issue, and what I've always said, I said this about Israel as well. These people don't need provocation, right? They are fascists. They don't need provocation. What would martial law do? They can just do whatever they want to do, right? They don't need martial law as the impetus to like strip away your rights. They're already doing that, right? Like they don't need it. And who's going to stop them? Not the Democrats. Nobody need provocation to get popular support. You're wrong. They don't need popular support for what? For what? What would they possibly need popular support for? Who's going to stop them? Are the Democrats going to stop them? Is the media class going to hold them accountable? They don't. Ow. Martial laws is kind of the neutral operation of the cops/feds. Yeah. They're in power and doing whatever they want. It's been shown they have no real opposition. Yeah. I think he means the protesters, not ICE, but I could be wrong. No, I think he means ICE. People have been saying that pretty much all day, right? They're like, oh, the idea is that like the feds are doing this very publicly in order to provoke a reaction out of the protesters that is violent. So they're like, oh, violence from the protesters, we're going to do martial law, which would then do something else. You know? Well, whatever that something, like what is that something else? After they declare martial law, what would they do that they're not already doing now? That's the question I ask, right? What would they do that they are not currently doing now? Yeah, they have a clarification. The feds don't need an excuse. Yeah, they just don't. And even if they did, right? Do we just not do anything? Do we acknowledge, okay, they want us to react so they can use or to enact martial law? Do we just not do anything? Do we just let, right, our neighbors be deported because we can't react because they'll do martial law? They'll probably try concentration camps. We already have camps, right? The only time I see Trump using martial law for some reason which would never happen, his power position is being threatened. He's about to be deposed for real, like South Korea situation, but that won't happen. Yeah. So you're asking the Trump, so you were asking about Trump posting National Guard. They had not been on the ground when Trump posted, but they have been seen setting up in LA this morning. I guess what this clip is. Trying to build camps in Kansas and Texas. I'm sure they want it in other states as well. I guess the martial law would basically change the nomenclature only of what they're doing. Trump's already authorized the use of military force beyond the National Guard if necessary. And I don't know, I'm waiting for them to sending American-born dissidents to re-education camps, which is a real fear, right? I'm not saying your fears are unfounded, chatters, right? I'm just saying that like we cannot operate as though like this is like, it's kind of like you know somebody is playing you, but you have to play anyway, right? Even if this is a ploy from the administration to provoke a reaction, like they go and very visibly start black bagging people to deport them, and it's a ploy for the reaction, right? You got to play into it. You have to. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, we know what you're doing. We're going to let our neighbors be deported so we don't play your game, right? We can't do that, right? We can't. We have to play the game if that's what the game that they're playing. We have to mobilize and get in the streets and stop this. They did this in 2020 and it only brought out more people. Yeah. be fair, 2020 is not the 2020 is like the best analog to what I see happening this summer, right? It's still not perfect because there was no material change. And I think that was partially due to Joe Biden winning the election. The reason why I think this is different than 2020 is Trump is in power for the next, 3.5 years, right? He is. And they can't scapegoat nothing happening and normalcy with the Democrats taking power. If he leaves at all, I mean, to be fair, he got 3.5 to 6 years maybe. Bro is old. He's gonna die in office. If he don't leave, we ain't got him for that much longer, Chad. I'm gonna be real. I'm just letting you know this now. He's like freaking like 80 something years old. He ain't lasting that long. Trump is gonna leave eventually, either the White House or this mortal coil. Yeah. Right? The fear to have is not Trump being in there forever, right? It's about the state of the country when he inevitably does leave. And whether or not we are going to continue to slip into fascism or if we're going to have a slight piece of normalcy until we continue to slip into fascism again. Right? Didn't Kissinger live to 100? I think he was like late 90s. I don't think he lived to 100 specifically. Maybe he was 101. Right? But even then, it's about the efficacy. Like, if Trump at 100 years old is not going to be an effective president. He will be a shadow, or like a figurehead, Right? So it's not about like, it's not Trump specifically. It's not. It's about like what Trump has hijacked, if you will. That's the problem. Because you died at 100 exactly. Oh. It was like a week before his 100th. Jimmy Carter died at 99, a week before his birthday. Trump isn't getting to 100. It's the Democrats' fault where we are now. I mean, that's true. That is also true. Yeah. It is 100% the Democrats' fault. Because when they were in power, they stoked up this rhetoric. We've said this. Right? We said this last year when they were running for re-election. Or when Biden was running for re-election and the Kamala took over, right? They were placating to this anti-immigrant rhetoric. GOP is doing all of this, but some of the Democrats are at fault. Fuck yes! Yes, chatter. Yes, the Democrats are at fault. 100%. We would not be here right now if we had a real opposition party that stood against what the Republicans were doing. Yes, literally yes. Yes, they were running on, we're going to be tough on immigration literally last year. The Republicans can only escalate when the Democrats move the foothold up. When the Democrats are chasing the old Republican policies, the Republicans then escalate to be more draconian. That's what happens. That's what happens. GOP is doing this with the support and the consent and the structure that was built by the 4 years of the Biden administration. Do you think that the Democrats did not fund ICE? Do you think the Democrats weren't trying to fund a border wall? Do you think the Democrats were actually anti-immigration enforcement? Like, what are we talking about? These are 500 protesters arrested under Biden. Yeah, they were doing this last year. Last year, Joe Biden was in power. Kamala Harris vice president, and they were mobilizing the police after protesters as well on college campuses. Like, yes, the Democrats are at fault for allowing the Republicans to grow to the amount of power that they have now. Like, You have Nancy Pelosi talking about we need a strong Republican Party. You can't say the GOP are doing this when the Democrats are very clearly saying we need a Republican Party. We need a strong Republican Party. And that's the problem. You're a fool. You are a fool, chatter. And it's not your fault that you're a rube. But you're a fool. You've been played. They are playing you. The Democrats want to act like this is a thing that they didn't support. But they did. The same way Jimmy Carter left the door open for Reagan, Biden left the door open for Trump. Yeah. And Obama left the door open for Trump as well. Trump won. Like, Obama built the camps that Trump was sending people to in 2016 and 2017. In the same way that Biden was funding ICE, the same ICE that is currently being mobilized to deport, like, legal permanent residents, arresting American citizens, right? And sending people to freaking El Salvador. That would not happen without the Democrats setting the stage for it, right? And that's what it means to be controlled opposition. The Democrats set the normalcy for fascism, and the Republicans escalated. And then when the Democrats takes in power, they then set that as the normalcy. All the time. National Guard seen assembling outside a federal building in LA.
Comrade Plastic Wolf just subscribed.
Carmen Possible, thank you for the Prime. And Maya Springer, thank you for the tier 1. And Kama Tom, thank you for the gifted sub as well. And Jimmy Mack, thank you for the Prime. And yeah, I think that's all of them. 100% control opposition. Why we've constantly shifted to the right when Democrats are in power and concede the fascists and do nothing to undo the damage. They always seem to have something more important to do. Yeah, like protect their own corporate benefactors.
Or here, where this detention center is,
Do
where
not pretend like the Democrats is innocent in all this. They want it just as bad to be seen as the Big Tent party. Yeah. And again, no one's making the argument that the Democrats are exactly the same on every single level as the Republicans, right? Like, nobody is making that argument. The point of Democrats is that they're not exactly the same and that they are marginally better in some rhetorical ways, right? That's really it. That's how they're different, because they can market themselves as being that gap that is like an inch being the ocean. They are kind of the same, though, in my opinion. Yeah, they are kind of the same, right? But they're not exactly the same. They cannot be exactly the same, right? They cannot be controlled opposition if they were exactly the same. They are marginally better rhetorically. That's it. They serve the same benefactors. They serve the same donors. They serve the same corporate interests, right? They both accelerate into fascism, but rhetorically, right, they are slightly different. And they act like that rhetorical difference is like the only thing that matters. That's it. Right? They are not exactly the same, right? They are like 99% the same. There's a 1% difference. That doesn't actually translate back to anything, though. No, you're correct. You are right, chatter. Right? But that difference is still there. And it's important to call out that difference, because that difference is a part of the tactic that they're using. Right? That 1% difference is important to note, because they use that 1% difference to justify their own existence. You know? That's why I think it's important to call out. So either they are a new part, there's a new party coming, or we keep being stuck in this loop forever. Kind of like now. Yeah, essentially. You can only be controlled opposition if they actually oppose something. Right now, they're not even that. I mean, yeah, which is why they're losing a lot of favor, right? You're not wrong, Chatter. You're completely correct, right? But that's why they're losing a lot of favor, because people want them to actually do opposition. But you have Hakeem Jeffries being like, "Hey, stay quiet on Abrego Garcia, right? No more trips to El Salvador. We're not doing that anymore." When there was even marginal opposition.
Some of the people that have been picked up in these raids have been brought to, Brian.
All right, Julia Vargas-Jones, I want you to stay with me. I also want to bring in now CNN senior national security analyst Julia Kayyem. Julia, if you're with me, you just heard Julia there describing the scene, but from the images that we've been putting on our air so far, what stands out to you at the moment?
So there's unrest. Let's start with there's protest, lawful protest, which is allowed in this country. There is some unrest generally dealt with by local law enforcement. And if they're needed.
And I want to point out, lawful protest does not exist, by the way. Right? You're going to see the media class running this line. There is no such thing as a lawful protest. There's not. There's not. If it's accepted as reasonable, right, by the people in power, it's not a protest. You're not protesting anything. You know what I mean? And if it's accepted as unreasonable, then it's not a lawful protest. If they like, okay, you can protest, but only in your house, right? And if you leave your house and you protest, it's illegal. Which they can make that distinction for, by the way. There's nothing stopping them from making that distinction. It's not like they listen to the courts, even if the courts rule in your favor. Right? You can protest, but only in your head. Do not vocalize it, which they can do. Because laws only matter in and as far as they're enforced. And if the laws are ignored to enact violence upon the populace, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Especially if they ignore the courts. It took them like a month to bring back Abrego Garcia from El Salvador when the courts were like, "Hey, you gotta bring him back."
Needs to be state support through state police. And sometimes even National Guard under a governor's authority. What is happening tonight is unprecedented.
If you're like, okay, I need to know what she's talking about by unprecedented. If you're not a disruptor to power, then what are you really doing? And they will always call that illegal. Exactly. If you're disruptive to power and you're actually, making meaningful change with your protest, they'll call that illegal. They'll call that violent and they'll arrest you for it. If you're not doing that, they'll let you do it because they know that it's meaningless, right? That whatever form of government becomes destructive to its ends, it's the right of the people to alter and abolish it. And to the institution, the new government lays foundation of such principles and organizing such form as to them shall be the most likely to affect their safety and happiness. I don't know what that's referring to, Chatter. Where's one guy complaining about this being GOP's fault? Hey, watch CNN has to say about this.
In a variety of ways. Generally, when the National Guard is federalized to be deployed into a state, so understanding that it's called Title 10 federalization, and it means that the National Guard goes from reporting to the governor to reporting to the President of the United States. Generally, historically, when that's done, there's only two instances. One is when a state is overwhelmed. And so think Hurricane Katrina. I just looked up the numbers. In Hurricane Katrina, about 7,000 National Guard were federalized. So under just the comparison to 2,000 for a couple of hundred protesters, you can just get a sense of the of the sort of reaction that the Trump White House is having. The second type of instance where you would see a president ignore a governor's wishes is if the governor defies a court order. So that's Little Rock, the civil rights cases in which the president federalized the National Guard to allow to support the Supreme Court's decision. Modern history hasn't seen something like this, and I think that's why Gavin Newsom and certainly our reporting from Josh Campbell regarding the concerns even in local law enforcement is now there's this federal overlay that is hostile to
as National Guard is a nothing burger. It's happened plenty of times, just some low-hanging fruit for libs to whine about. I mean, she said it is unprecedented. It's only happened a couple times, so I can't speak to the frequency because I just don't know. But I do agree that it's just something for libs to whine about, right? It's about norms and procedures being violated, but they're not going to do anything about it. You know what I mean? It's not like Gavin Newsom's going to do anything about it. He's going to roll over and take it. So it doesn't matter.
To the sort of the way it generally works. And there's no training. We don't know what their rules of engagement are. We don't know why 2,000 have to be deployed. I'm looking at the pictures. I'm not minimizing civil unrest. Violence should not be used. It's against the law to disrupt.
Bro, they're showing like a dude waving the Mexican flag and like 5 people standing in the street. And she's like, I'm not minimizing the civil unrest, man. Peace must be preserved. And it's just like 5 people just standing in the street.
Federal law enforcement.
Cars still being allowed to drive through.
Action. But we have tools to do with this that are far less, let's just say,
Deal with
caustic.
What? 5 people standing in the street? And this is this is literally what I'm talking about. Literally what I am talking about. Literally what I'm talking about, right? About the way liberals operate, about the way Democrats operate, right? She's laying the foundation, the groundwork, being like, yeah, of course these people are violent, but like, I think you're going a little bit overkill. They are bringing the level up to calling this violent, which would then be used by the GOP and the Trump administration, being like, oh, see, even CNN's calling this violent civil unrest, right? We must go in and squash it. Now they've both agreed on that this is violent. They just agree on the methods to deal with this violence, and that it's 5 people standing in the street. Yeah, it's manufacturing consent. Exactly.
Than what Donald Trump has decided to do tonight. And I just want to put that in historical perspective. Some of our viewers will think that's right, but historically, this is not typical. And the numbers, when you just compare this to Hurricane Katrina, those of us who remember Hurricane Katrina.
Why are they not talking about the fact that ICE is black bagging random people, right, regardless of documentation status, right, in a arrest first, ask questions later method? I feel like that's important. I feel like that is an important part of the story. But she's already she's skipped over that, right? She's totally skipped over that, being like, well, these protesters are violent. Something has to be done about them. I just don't agree that it should be the National Guard. Instead of like, this is vast overstep from the federal administration in mobilizing immigration enforcement in the way that they're doing. Why is CNN not talking about that?
Entire city and court system underwater, you get a sense of why Governor Newsom and local law enforcement are. I
was in NOLA for the Katrina. National Guard has blood on their hands. So do the cops. So do the random people as well. Like 100%, you're not wrong. So do these random like militias that formed as well to just start clapping people that they claimed were looting after a natural disaster.
Very concerned about what's about to happen.
I know California leaders had said that this will only inflame the situation. When you think of the historic nature of this, that this hasn't happened where there's been that transfer of power to the president from a governor since Katrina.
Like, they're just talking about like the normalcy of like the president using the National Guard instead of like, I don't know, the normalcy of people being black bagged, right, en masse, publicly, and how that's not normal and how that's bad. But we're not talking about that at all.
Is there any oversight for that situation in the aftermath to be able to look and say, was this done above bar, or was this legal?
What's the down flag is violence
situation there?
Well, one historical precedent is the LA riots. That was actually cooperative as well. And the after actions that I know very well, this is my space, this intersection between military.
And you can tell it's still early because they're calling them the LA protests, right? Give it a week. Give it a week.
Homeland civilian is that it was there, but for the grace of God was there not friendly fire. Because, look, our federalized troops are trained to do something, and that something is the use of force. They are not trained to de-escalate a political situation, civil unrest. The language.
Like, she's not wrong, but like this applies to the cops as well. You think the cops are trained in de-escalation techniques? The cops are trained to just fire whatever they have at protesters. That's it. That's all they're trained to do. They're trained to sit like this. You put a gun in their hand and they shoot whatever it is, whether that's a rubber bullet launcher or other forms of like less than lethal ammunition. They're just trained to sit like this, and then their superior puts like a separate weapon in their hand and they just pull the trigger. That's it.
Language that's being used by the White House. I'm from LA. I'm looking at people running errands. Like, this is not a city that is not able to function. And so the Trump White House has now lowered the bar. And so in terms of operational planning,
dang it, I didn't mean that. The implication of what she just said is that if this was a situation where the city was unable to function, then the National Guard should get involved and force it to function, even if the city is shut down because of the draconian actions of the Trump administration. And that's the problem with liberals, right? That is the issue with liberals. They're saying, no, see, these protests are ineffective, right? These protests are ineffective. Nothing is really happening here, right? So there's no reason to get the National Guard involved. Instead of saying, and they're like, hey, if the protests do shut down the country, then maybe we should get the National Guard involved, but we're not there yet. Right? Instead of being like, hey, maybe Trump should stop taking these insane actions with ICE and immigration enforcement. Maybe if they did that, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be an issue. But that's the way that liberals operate. They don't oppose the action that causes the protest, the reaction, right? They oppose only the reaction because they see the action as normalcy. Right? They see the initial inciting incident as a part of the normal way the country operates, and the reaction as the problem. This is what Brett said. What's happening in LA will happen everywhere. If you think staying home will protect you, you're wrong. If you think that being quiet will protect you, you're wrong. The only thing that will protect you is getting organized. Don't be caught alone. Yeah, this is the impetus. This is the beginning. It will grow.
Has now lowered the bar. And so in terms of operational planning, we don't know how they will be deployed, what the rules of engagement are. Are they working or are they in conflict with the Los Angeles Police Department? This is a sophisticated department, quite large, and 2,000 troops again, is a lot. This is a significant number of federalized troops. Again, that number of federalized National Guard during Hurricane Katrina, a city that had lost 2,000 people, that could not function. Its courts weren't open. Its prisons weren't open. Its police force was not functional. You only saw the federalization of about 7,000 troops.
You notice how she didn't say that people were dying due to a lack of resources due to the grocery stores not being opened, right? That like, she didn't say that. She just said, oh, we couldn't enforce violence onto people, and so the National Guard had to come in and enforce violence onto people, and that was their role. Not to distribute food, not to help rebuild the city, not to give aid to people who are injured. It's just violence. You see what they are going to shoot at Greta's boat? I don't know what you're referring to. Like, I don't know what they're shooting at Greta's boat. No. Evacuation buses for the public didn't evacuate them all out of the city. They took them to the Superdome. It was a disaster before the storm hit shore. This lady loves violence. She loves living up excuses for the cops. Yes. Is there actual evidence of National Guard being set up, or is it just fear-mongering at this point? There is this. This is from BBC News. First troops sent to arrive in LA after Trump sends National Guard to curb the immigration protests.
Blocking their path. They responded
So National
by
Guard
firing
in LA.
flashbangs as well as pepper spray and rubber bullets and pepper guns at the protesters. And we also saw protesters setting fire to vehicles and throwing bottles, what the authorities have claimed are Molotov cocktails at the federal agents. Now, what we're seeing is the California governor who is claiming that this troop deployment to LA is completely unnecessary. He's saying that the troops will only escalate tension, and he really accused the White House of only doing it as a part of a spectacle, that they actually want to escalate the tension. Now, the President Donald Trump and the White House have claimed that there is lawlessness and criminal behavior in LA, and now the situation is out of control, so that the troops are necessary to go there and quell this riot. And this is a president whose rallying call is law and order, and this is going to play. This is exactly what his support base would like to see him do.
Yeah, just remind us the origins of this, because as you mentioned, the principle behind what's going on is something that President Trump campaigned heavily on before the election.
Yes, President Trump has pledged that he will take care of this national emergency. He claimed that there's a national emergency at the southern border, that there are illegal immigrants who are flooding into America, and they're bringing crime, and they're bringing in drugs, and all kinds of awful things. Now, there is this movement by the president, there is this pledge by the president to kick out at least 1 million immigrants during his time each year. Now, according to government data, the White House has nothing close to this number. And this is why the critics of the president is accusing him of making these arrests, stepping up this number to hit this arbitrary quota. And what we also, it does track with Mr. Trump's recent policies of stepping up the self-deportation scheme, as well as stepping up this more forced.
Okay, they're kind of just yapping now, but yes, the National Guard to some extent is on the ground. And so this remains to be seen what happens here. Right? And what this will look like when the protests do continue, because they will continue. But yeah. I had this open because this is what I want to talk about as well. From the Men's Warehouse, Men's Warehouse guy, the menswear guy. He says, I admire the courage of the people protesting the ICE raids in California. I'm against violent protests, and I think that they're counterproductive. I also think that their nonviolent protests sends a more powerful message and more powerful and enduring message. I have long believed in Dr. King's message about nonviolent resistance. That said, I also hope everyone protesting stays safe. This is a long struggle, and there are ways to support immigrants beyond what's happening right now on the streets. You can volunteer with pro-immigrant organizations, offer material aid, or even pursue a career in immigration law. Oh yeah, let me just go to college, and then go to college again, right? And then become a lawyer and pass the bar. And in 15 years, you know, in 10 to 15 years, then I can be an advocate for immigrant rights. Thanks, bro. Yeah. I share your anger and believe that we can channel this energy into something meaningful change for immigrants. But to do that, you have to stay safe. British all civil rights movements have, you guys have had aggressive resistance as part of them. Do you think we serve the British tea? Which doesn't think is not going to help us at this point. We got a dictator in office. I don't fully agree with that. I think that there's a diversity of tactics is necessary, right? I think when people say, like, I believe in what Dr. King had to say, don't understand the totality of the civil rights movement, right? The peaceful protests or the nonviolent protests only worked because there was violent resistance, right? It's the concept of good cop, bad cop, right? It's, you see what the people over there, they're mad, they're upset. And if you don't want to deal with them, you got to deal with me instead. You need to have that violent arm, right? It's necessary for every part of the resistance or every historical resistance. You need Martin and Malcolm? Yeah, you do. And the craziest part is that, like, Martin Luther King said this. Martin Luther King said this himself. He said, I'm committed to nonviolent protests, right? But hey, you're gonna deal with the violent people if you don't deal with me. I want to help you out. I'm trying to get this through nonviolently. But like, people getting tired out there. They are in the streets, right? And they don't want to deal with nonviolence anymore. They don't. And so if you don't want to deal with them, you got to deal with me right now. It's necessary. It's necessary. The dude later in his reply suggests that one can marry an immigrant as activism. No, he did not. Stop. Okay, what's Tom Nichols say? Tom Nichols is kind of a funny person. I guess no one's ever going to learn the lesson that rioting in the streets is almost always benefits the right wing in American politics. Save me your speeches about Watts. It's been almost a perfect record since 1968. Civil rights movement would like to have a word, and they would be wrong. Where white liberals are so funny, which Martin Luther King also had a word about. First, I must confess, over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached a regrettable conclusion that the Negro's a great stumbling block in his stride towards the freedom is not the white citizens, counselor, or the Ku Klux Klan, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the absence of the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in your goal. I hate reading them like this. I agree with you in your goals you seek, but I cannot agree with your message or direct action. Who paternalistically believes that he can set a timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by the mythical concept of time and constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more conventional session or season. Shallow understanding from people's goodwill is more frustrating than the absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Yeah. And this isn't even what I was speaking about, right? Because he talks about this pretty consistently. I know because I've done a reading into what Martin was saying about this for this video. Be thinking how respectability politics harms the Black community. Watch this. Not condemning riots. We see him condemn people who condemn riots harder than they condemn the drivers behind them. The structural violence and terror runs back. There's a few clips.
develop, I think,
Quotes started as violence is the language of the unheard.
I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. Certain
What is X cancel?
conditions continue to exist in our society, which must be condemned as vigorously as we condemn riots.
I don't have a Twitter
Then the
account. It's a
final
proxy for Twitter. Oh.
analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard. What is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years. It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. And so in a real sense, our nation's summers of riots are caused by our nation's winters of delay. And as long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Social justice and progress are the absolute guarantors of riot prevention.
Large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility in the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. Here we clearly see Martin not condemning riots. We see him condemn people who condemn riots harder than they condemn the drivers behind them, the structural violence enacted on black communities. Now I can already hear you fingers typing. I hear it. But what about this clip? What about that clip?
I will never change in my basic idea that nonviolence is the most potent weapon available to the Negro in his struggle for freedom and justice. I think for the Negro to turn to violence would be both impractical and immoral.
There is an increasingly vocal minority who disagreed totally with your tactics, Dr. King.
There's no doubt about that. I will agree that there is a group in the Negro community advocating violence now. I happen to feel that this group represents a numerical minority. Surveys have revealed this. The vast majority of Negroes still feel that the best way to deal with the dilemma that we face in this country is through nonviolent resistance. And I don't think this vocal group will be able to make a real dent in the Negro community in terms of swaying 22 million Negroes to this particular point of view. And I contend that the cry of black power is at bottom a reaction to the reluctance of white power to make the kind of changes necessary to make justice a reality for the Negro. I think we've got to see that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the economic plight of the Negro poor has worsened over the last few years.
How many summers like this one do you imagine that we can expect?
Well, I would say this, we don't have long. The mood of the Negro community now is one of urgency, one of saying that we aren't going to wait, that we've got to have our freedom. We've waited too long. So that I would say that every summer we are going to have this kind of vigorous protest. My hope is that it will be nonviolent. I would hope that we can avoid riots because riots are self-defeating and socially destructive. I would hope that we can avoid riots, but that we will be as militant and as determined next summer and through the winter.
And that's true. He did say this. Conservative media love. And so this is, and I go into a deeper conversation, but like Dr. King went throughout his entire life, especially the last 2 to 3 years, speaking heavily about the feeling of the black community in the civil rights movement, and as it inevitably grew into a more of a violent endeavor, right? Understanding that why he personally disagreed with the usage of violent methods in order to enact change and rights and things of that notion, right? While he disagreed with that personally, he understood that they are still bred out of an eagerness for change that comes from the general society, in this case was white society, being unable to or inhospitable to said change in the first place, right? And what he does in nonviolent protests would not exist without the violent protests that gave him legitimacy, right? MLK stood in a very weird and tenuous position, essentially died for it. I don't think it's weird. I think it's understandable, right? Even if I don't fully agree with it, right? I think it's necessary, right? MLK only existed as a prominent figure in the nonviolent movement, only existed as a prominent movement in the civil rights movement because it was contrasted with the violent movement that was growing, you know? That's the reason why it was important. It didn't really save any of the people involved. MLK was still assassinated. Malcolm X was still assassinated. Freddie Hamilton was still assassinated, right? Like these leaders were still assassinated regardless, right? But it only works because there is a contrast. It only works because there is one group showing what happens when you don't listen to nonviolent protests. And that wouldn't exist if the nonviolent protests didn't exist as well. You know? We're like in between that contrast, not weird as in strange. I don't think it was in between. I think he was committed to nonviolence due to his like moral positioning. I think partially because of the fact that he was a reverend, right? But I think that it came with the understanding that of course people are going to be upset, especially when you don't listen to nonviolent protests. And so he's trying to demonstrate, he's the good cop, right? He's trying to demonstrate, hey, you want to deal with me, right? I don't like them people over there. They're super mean and stuff over there. You want to deal with me because I'm super nice, right? Right? That's the role that he has to play, right? That's the role that he's necessary to play. If your resistance is effective, the state will kill you for it. Violent or non-violent, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And so that's what Martin has spoke about. And that's what Martin struggled with, right? In the later years of his life. This is something that he talked about he struggled with. I think Chatter was saying that earlier, right? Also his Beyond Vietnam speech where he said that he struggled with activists telling him, what about Vietnam? He said nonviolence is the way to get out. The government uses a massive amount of violence for its ends, and he knew that they were correct. Yeah, like he did struggle with this, right? He believed that violent protests and riots were destructive, right? But he also understood that they were inevitable so long as change was not enacted, right? And so now he's being reduced down to just being the nonviolent guy, essentially a pacifist, right? Instead of somebody who just felt that nonviolence was more effective than violence was. It's a dialect. It's dialectic, you see. Yeah. I can't read, geez Louise. But here. This person says, I mean this genuinely, but what else are people supposed to do when the communities are faced with direct violence? Nonviolence cannot win against direct violence. When people are being ripped from their communities, it's only logical that they defend themselves. If you're in a relationship with an undocumented migrant, you can make a direct impact on their life by marrying them, if it is indeed a legit marriage. Or not suggesting anyone enter a false marriage. In my opinion, this makes more sense than throwing more of an impact than throwing bottles. What if you're not? What if you're not? Yep, sorry. Sorry, you must let your neighbor be arrested because it's the law. You must let your neighbor be black bagged and arrested because you're not in a relationship with them and you can't marry them. Cool. Cool. Like this is the problem with liberals. He's like, what if you're not? Okay, what if that person's not in a relationship? Do you just let them go? You just let them be black bagged and arrested? It apparently doesn't matter, as people have been here for decades and marrying a citizen, had children, are getting deported. They don't care. Having a green card makes a huge difference. Apparently not. Because again, liberals are so freaking stupid. They adhere so closely to the rule of law that they will rule of law themselves into a fascist dictatorship. They're totally fine with fascism so long as the fascist gets himself elected. They're totally fine with a dictator so long as I use this specific method to become a dictator that the Constitution allows. And they're like, well, our hands are tied there. The Constitution said that they're allowed to be a dictator in that way. So, what are we gonna do? Can we let Sasha person go on for a while? I hate him so much, just from what I'm reading. But the Supreme Court cannot stop the admin from sending full citizens to a foreign prison. Do you think that having a green card marriage is going to do anything? And even if that worked, your big nonviolent solution is for every undocumented person to get married right now. May I ask if you know any undocumented immigrants? If so, have you asked whether or not a green card meaningfully improved their lives? Again, completely missing the point. Complete deflection. Complete deflection. He's like, he's saying, okay, well, just marry undocumented immigrants. That will change their lives. He's like, okay, but like, you can't marry all undocumented immigrants, right? It's like that. Your big plan is just to like marry every undocumented person right now. That's not a very good plan. And he's like, well, have you asked any undocumented immigrants you know if a green card would help them? Checkmate, liberal. This is your brain on pure, unadulterated cope. Genuinely. This is the same. This is actually not the same, but this is a very similar dilemma to what Martin went through in his life, right? Because he was faced with these questions as well, right? And it's very hard to justify nonviolence when direct violence is being enacted on communities. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to justify nonviolence when violence is being directly acted upon communities. And this is something that Martin himself struggled with, which is why he had to contextualize violence and nonviolence. Like, but this person is not nearly as smart as Martin Luther King was. I want to see him going back and forth with this Sasha person. But like, yeah, because ICE is definitely going to adhere to immigration status when they kidnap people. Oh, you're married to an American partner? My bad, carry on. Yeah. Liberals are just so stupid. They're just so dumb. Right? They're just so dumb. Because like, if they cared about violence, they would focus that rhetoric on the people who are committing the lion's share of the violence, and that is ICE. I want to know this person thought about self-defense. Genuinely. If somebody broke into your house and put a gun to your wife's head, can you commit violence against them? Can you commit violence against that person? Under this person's worldview, no. No, you cannot. Because you're nonviolent. You're nonviolent, which basically means you're a pacifist. Yeah, you have to marry the intruder first. I didn't think about that. Now is not the time the victim blame. The federal government is mobilizing the National Guard so they can subvert the U.S. Constitution, bypass due process. If due process is being taken from them, it can be taken from you. Now it's precisely the time to protest. The law is a tool. I'm not against protesting. Go out and do it then. Some of us are in situations that put us greater risk in front of ICE. May I ask if you're a citizen? Bro saying I'm not against protesting. Someone was like, do it. He's like, no. Not even like, I am protesting as well. He's just like, no. I think not. I'm good. I think I'm okay, actually. Dude, this is a crazy back and forth. Well, sure, but suppose my neighbor is an immigrant at risk of ICE or deportation, like yours or mine may be. You see ICE show up one day, dragging them out of their home. You cannot marry them, yet they're your neighbor. Is throwing bottles to fend off the state violence not legitimate? Great question. This is exactly what I said. I don't think throwing a bottle stops anything at that very unfortunate moment. I think the real work happens way before then, but that's not the question. So yeah, your answer is just let them be taken. That's it. That's what his answer is. His answer is just, yeah, let them be taken. Sorry, sucks to suck. We'll catch the next one 3 years down the road when they get married. You know what I mean? He's like, well, what I would do is I would call out, hey, you should have been married, Johnny. I don't know what to tell you. You should have found yourself an American woman. Got married to him. See you in El Salvador. That's what your response is. I think this is someone who has been in that position and felt frustrated as many actions that people took did not help my situation. Personally, I think it can if it's just a last resort. If just as a last resort. I understand your position, even though we don't agree. Although I do hope you come around to seeing why people take such actions. Going through supposed legitimate channels will not get anyone so far in a fascist regime. True. What do you think will happen if you marry an undocumented immigrant right now? Are you suggesting that person won't get a green card? Oh my goodness, this person is so stupid. He's still on the marriage thing. He's saying you have to do activism by marrying an undocumented immigrant right now. That's the only activism you can do. This is what happens when your brain is on pure, unadulterated coke. You latch onto this one specific thing and you hold on to it as the only sort of action. People do this all the time when it comes to voting, right? But now there's not an election. So now they can't do that anymore, right? They can't do that and be like, oh, just vote, just vote, just vote, because we're not in election season. So you have to latch onto a different thing to like fight against fascism. That's not violence. And his thing that he selected was like, just marry people. Oh yeah, just get married. Just get married. Why not? Just marry someone right now. Not that people are currently, right now, as of like days ago, being arrested at immigration hearings to get citizenship. People are showing up to get citizenship and they're being arrested. So no, getting married for getting a green card will not save them. I literally came on a finance visa, got married. Immigration authorities make it very clear your status on a green card is completely at a whim of whoever the immigration official you talk to is. I'm not sure if I missed the marriage argument, but even immigrants married to Americans are still getting deported. People have already begun legal processes to obtain residencies and citizenships are being deported. Exactly, yeah. People with green cards are being detained, yes. So like, what is he talking about? Right? And I think the problem is I don't think he wants to admit that he's wrong on this. Right? I don't think he wants to admit that he's incorrect. That maybe there's a situation where, like, imagine you are the wife in the situation. You did get married and your husband has been deported and you have your kid, right? That's like not your kid, is actually your husband's kid, and the kid is undocumented, right? And ICE knocks on your door, shows up, and was like, give me that kid. That kid is undocumented. Give me that literal 1-year-old child. That 1-year-old child is undocumented or whatever. Do you give the kid up? Or you're like, oh, here, ICE. Take, is it my kid or not? I mean, if you are the kid's, step parent. You marry the kid off first? Yeah, this guy's like, marry the kid. Marry the child. You got to do it. There's nothing you can't do anything else but marry the child in that instance, right then and there. But if you're like, no, hide the kid away from ICE, he's saying that that's unacceptable, right? Distracting ICE to get the kid out of the house, unacceptable. Throwing bottles at ICE, unacceptable. Right? You must either marry the kid or let the kid be taken by ICE. To Derek, those are your only two options. Your only two options are marry the kid or let the kid be taken by ICE. There's nothing else you can do. Mohsen Mandawi was arrested at his oath ceremony to become a citizen. I am going to hold one of his letters I'm holding one of his letters in my hand right now to go do that. I'm at risk of being blackbagged. A green card does not protect you. Yeah. Violence against ICE, bad. Violence against me, good. No, I'm not. I am just suggesting that it may not protect them. And that this current administration does not seem to care about such things. There have been American citizens who have been deported, people with green cards detained for extended periods of time. Would you agree that someone with a green card holds significantly greater protection than someone who doesn't? Oh my goodness, bro. Oh my goodness. He just does not want to admit that he's wrong. He's a debate perv. He's a debate perv. He is a debate perv. Like, he's not wrong. Theoretically, having a green card should protect you more. Right? But it doesn't. In this current day and age, for this administration, it does not. I would hope so, but it does not seem to matter much these days, especially if you are a critical administration. My point is that we can try our best to be compliant citizens under a fascist admin, but at the end of the day, everyone still gets a knock on the door. I think that this is an unreasonable take. I think a green card is very meaningful to undocumented migrants. It grants significant protections from ICE. Oh my goodness, bro. He's so stupid. He's so dumb. Tell that to Mahmoud Khalil. Tell that to the number of green card holders who are being deported or detained for months. Tell that to people who have deportation protected status, who get deported to El Salvador within days. I'm going to drive by my local Home Depot and ask who wants to get married. Is National Guard being sent to the protest just a modern equivalent of the Boston Massacre? Nobody has been killed, so I would hope that that's not the case. But it is an escalation of violence for sure. You're right, sorry, a car died. Cars are citizens, as we found out earlier today. Think about the Hyundai Sonata. I am concerned that people are revved up by emotion the emotional moment and eager to commit violence. Are you not? Like, just this is just coward shit. Like, just legitimately. Right? He's like, no, if ICE comes to take my neighbor, I let them do it. I'm a good little boy. I'm a good little boy. If ICE comes to deport my neighbor, right? I'm a good little boy. I'm just gonna let them do it. I'm a good little boy. Like, that will protect you. Because it won't. It won't. Some which may result in serious injuries for protesters, and it goes nowhere. Again, I admire the courage it takes. I admire the courage and think it's good to protest. I hope people stay safe and not feel defeatist about the hard, unromantic work. Okay. Bro's like, I hope they don't feel defeatist about doing like the not marrying work. I guess they can do. You know, it's unromantic, right? It's unromantic. They should have went the marrying route, but I hope they feel good by doing it. That it can take to make meaningful change in the lives of undocumented migrants. Such a defeatist attitude cannot help achieve those goals. Again, saying that someone who's saw a similar movement about 20 years ago that went nowhere, all the people who are angrily marched went on with their lives. I have huge respect for you, and I trust that you are closer to immigrant communities here than myself. But I'm curious about how you square this with the real violation of people's rights that are happening regardless of status. Again, Mama Khalil had a green card. Feels like you're doing the same thing anti-vaxxers do. This is your brain on debate pervertry. This is your brain on debate pervertry. I don't think this person is doing what anti-vaxxers do. I think this person is doing what like anti-maskers do. Like pro-vaccine anti-maskers. It's not 100% effective, so therefore it's meaningless, right? This person is saying, no, of course vaccines are effective, but like you should also still wear a mask to protect yourself. And he's like, bro, fuck the masks. Fuck the masks, just get the vaccine. Right? I got the vaccine, I'm fine. I don't need to wear a mask, actually. That's what he's doing. Right? He's like, okay, well, we are already as a society marrying a bunch of immigrants and getting them green cards. Why should we focus on stopping ICE from arresting people when we're already marrying them? You know what I mean? We're already marrying them. There's no reason for us to throw bottles at ICE because we're already marrying a bunch of undocumented immigrants. Yeah, so what is he supposed to marry this 10-year-old child? This young girl being detained by ICE in handcuffs who looks no more than 10 years old. This whole scene is troubling enough, but then you see a male cop is searching her and patting her down. This should be a female, not a male, no matter what this child's age is. I feel like this is focusing on the wrong thing. I don't disagree, but like, I don't think it would be better if it was a female cop regardless. It should still not be happening. You know what I mean? I don't think a female cop should be patting down a 10-year-old, throwing them in handcuffs and throwing them in the back of a car in the first place. You know what I mean? Not wrong, but completely missing the point. The child is traumatized and her rights are being violated either way. Yeah. It is a weird thing to focus on. Like, it's not wrong, but I feel like it again misses the forest for the trees about like this should not be happening in the first place. Okay, why are you playing Childish Gambino?
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping.
Wait, also this says sheriffs. Does ICE wear sheriff's tags? Or they're just arresting a child just for the lulls of it? Like ICE oftentimes wears like unmarked uniforms and things like that. I've seen a ton of fake sheriffs that are ICE. The sheriffs who are working with ICE in LA from the jump, because the sheriffs don't report to the mayor.
Don't get you slipping now. Look how I'm living now. Police be tripping now.
I wish I saw the original video because I would like to see. Like how, like what's, like how does this even happen? Like who was this child with? Are they also being arrested? I'm so confused. Why didn't Derek marry the elementary school kids?
I can't handle this, y'all. This is crazy, yo. I didn't think this was about to affect me like this.
Listening to school workers share his frustrations over parents having to leave their children's graduation ceremony because ICE raided elementary school graduation today.
But our neighbor's school, y'all know I work at a school. Fuck. Our neighboring school, I think it's Gratas, I don't know how to say it. It's Gratas or something like that. They were having their graduation. And there's helicopters in the sky. Most of these schools are... Fuck, yo. Most of these schools are predominantly Hispanic. Most of these schools are predominantly Hispanic. Gratas, I believe elementary, was having their graduation. And all of a sudden, a bunch of parents have to run out because ISIS is there. This is the story that I'm hearing. And, you know, our school goes on lockdown. Our principal, you know, tells us it's a drill, but we know it's not a drill. And, you know, I had to come outside. It's my break. We kind of got like off of a soft lockdown. And
I think he said ICE is just there. And TikTok picked up on it and said ISIS. Right. He said it quickly. That's what I think happened there.
You know,
I don't think ICE is just...
Parents had to run out because they don't have papers, and they had to leave their kids because the kids do. What type of shit is this, yo? And then kids are freaking grabbing teachers and crying on their leg because they don't know if they're about to see their parents when they get home. What the fuck is this? And we voted for this shit? 15 people just got picked up on Wilshire at the Home Depot. On Wilshire. Yo.
Wait, that true? I don't live far from Wilshire, I don't think. I thought it was happening in freaking Paramount.
Oh my god. This is not right. This is not right, yo.
See. Oh yeah, this is the one in downtown LA. Okay, yeah. That's the downtown LA one. That makes sense. 9-year-old and his father detained by ICE facing deportations.
In Torrance are demanding answers after a 9-year-old boy stopped showing up to school only to be found in federal immigration custody.
Derek be like, should have married the 9-year-old. You should have married the 9-year-old child, right? You can't do anything to help that 9-year-old child except for marrying them. Anything else is illegitimate and invalid in Derek's mind. You can't do it. You can't stop ICE from detaining this 9-year-old. You can't impede the vehicle. You must marry this child. And that's the only activism you can do. Is this Derek the men's fashion guy? Yes.
Now, local Congressman Ted Lieu is urging ICE to provide an explanation as soon as possible. Officials say Martyr Garcia Lara and his father were taken into custody on May 29th. They've since been transferred to Texas at an immigration facility as they face deportation to Honduras. Lara had been attending Torrance Elementary School since the first grade.
Bro, he's freaking
now on
9.
Eyewitness News at 5.
9 years old.
Breaking news, a day of anger, fear, and clashes as people come face to face with federal agents conducting ICE raids, detaining several people across the city of Los Angeles. I'm Mark Brown.
I'm Giovanna Lara in for Michelle Fisher tonight. After a day of chaos with ICE raids, here's what's happening right now. Air 7 live over the scene where dozens of people have gathered calling for an end to deportations and ICE operations across the city. And here's how it unfolded. First, we received a tip about ICE officers outside a Westlake Home Depot. Then another raid at Ambience apparel store in LA's Fashion District. Happening around the same time at Ambience headquarters in downtown, people were put in handcuffs and loaded into white unmarked vans.
This breaking news is unfolding as we speak. Right now, several protests are planned as the sun sets on this Friday night.
And not only are the images shocking to see, but there are a lot of questions on how this happened. But this isn't just a local story. There are major immigration developments on the national level as well. We have live team coverage for you. We begin with Chris Christie live in Air 7 over a rally in downtown LA. Chris.
Wait, is this another dude just named Chris Christie?
Yeah, that rally has grown exponentially just in the last hour. Started around 4 o'clock already, about 400 to 500 people down there in front of the Federal Building. We'll take you right outside. You can see the Federal Building at 300 Los Angeles Street. They are now blocking part of the street as this rally gets underway. This is a rapid response call to action, protesting the ICE raids and specifically protesting the treatment of women in detention who are lacking hygiene and food. You can see there are speakers, there are signs. They have, again, this crowd has really swelled in the last 20 to 30 minutes especially. You can see they have the entire road shut down. Just down the block, there was a fire hydrant that popped up and a gusher just basically spewing water all over the street. Fire department making their way through the crowd to respond to that incident. In the meantime, you can see things are really shaping up here in front of the Federal Building here in downtown Los Angeles. Reporting live from Air 7, I'm Chris Christie, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Chris, thank you. And this just
It's not that big of a crowd.
And the executive director of Chirla says David Huerta, the president of the labor.
Bro, they pushed him onto like a freaking piece of concrete, dog.
And this just in, the executive director of Chirla says David Huerta, the president of the labor union SEIU, has been released from the hospital but is still being detained by federal authorities. You're looking at video showing the incident in downtown Los Angeles earlier today. It appears that Huerta might have hit his head. We have no word on any injuries.
Now let's get right to Eyewitness News reporter Kevin Osbeck. He is live now in downtown LA near the site of that demonstration, that growing demonstration. Kevin?
Well, Mark and Giovanna, that growing demonstration that Chris Christie is over is right there a few hundred feet behind me. We can see, as Chris said, a few hundred people are now here. Now, we're actually at the corner of Aliso and Los Angeles. And if you actually kind of turn your attention from the federal courthouse over there onto the on-ramp of the 101, you can see CHP troopers are there. They're ready. They're waiting just in case that rally moves from the courthouse onto the 101. But let's show you exactly why this rally is underway. Multiple ICE raids kicked off starting around 8 o'clock this morning. Just look at how contentious it got between federal agents and protesters in the Garment District this afternoon as ICE agents raided 2 locations connected to a clothing maker called Ambience. Now, as people were being detained, agents and protesters actually butted right up against each other. At one point, as agents drove off, one protester got right in front of their SUV and fell down hard right in front of it. You see him there actually lying there down on the road. Now, federal agents eventually did swerve around him. They sped up. You see a protester actually throw a bike at that SUV, and agents speed off. And these are images that look like something we would typically see during a high-speed chase here in LA. Flashbangs were also going off to try to disperse these crowds. Now,
also notice the drones, by the way. They've gotten smaller, so they're harder to see, but they're there. They are there.
The first raid we know of took place outside a Home Depot on Wilshire. That's in the Westlake district. This morning, that raid started and stunned people who saw it all unfold.
We ran because one of the persons said ice in Spanish. So that's how basically the one that scattered, but the elderly people that were not able to run, those were the ones that got caught.
That's
it's sad.
Insane.
See them do that, you know. The first thing I remember when that clown in office was promoting his campaign was they're gonna go after criminals. I don't understand how people looking for a job is committing a crime.
Now, Karen Bass called these raids chaotic and the last thing that LA needs. Meanwhile, we heard in a statement from ICE today that they are treating all the people they detained today with dignity, but of course, that is not helping at all those people behind me feel any better about everything that unfolded today across the city. Reporting live in downtown LA, Kevin Ozebek, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
A former Orange County prosecutor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll show you this as well. We'll top off the we'll finish off the we'll end off the Men's Warehouse guy section with this tweet. Jeez Louise, why are there so many euphemisms for sucking dick? Why do they exist so much? The cheap drone to knock theirs out of the sky. That drone was flying low. You can just, you know, if you want to. Everyone says, hey, you know what else MLK believed? This is what MLK wrote while he was sitting in a Birmingham jail. It's easy to be an arm show expert telling everyone to calm down when you're comfortable sitting down. Stand up for something that matters, and maybe you'll create a better community. I must confer two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. We already read this, didn't we? Yeah, we read this one already. Blocking me after quoting MLK back to him was certainly a move. It's all about rationality and civility until you poke a canyon-sized hole in their logic and morality. If you're wise, you'd never take this guy's advice on anything, even socks. Do you use drones for identification? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Not just like getting it up in people's faces, but also to like get people who are committing crimes, right? Because in aerial view, you can just get everybody. And so you can get somebody who committed a crime, and then you can fly up, follow them, get what they're wearing, potentially like relay that back to like command central or whatever, and then have that information like logged. Yeah, he said having blocked so many people in a single night, usually block like 1,000 people a day. I never really liked this guy. I'm gonna be real. That's just me though. So you remark about protesters and violence, but not law enforcement. Who has the guns, tasers, non-lethal rounds, tear gas? Do you see protesters running cops over? Thank you for the reminder, Peter. I neglected to think about I neglected to think that one powerfully worded tweet would stop ICE, LAPD, and the Marines. I work on composing this tweet now. Like it's so gross. It's so gross. Right? Like people do this for like Israel as well. And they're like, oh, Hamas is this, Hamas is that. And they're like, you're speaking a lot about Hamas, but you're not talking about Israel. Oh yeah, my tweets will stop Israel from doing what they're doing. Oh, of course. Yeah, let me just single-handedly stop Israel what they're doing. It's about your priorities. If your priorities are more about scaring out how bad protesters are, right, and how much violence they're committing, but you ignore the violence from the state, right? then you're running defense for the state. That's what you're doing. Yes, we understand that violence is bad, but if you genuinely thought that violence was bad, you would talk about the main driver behind the violence, and that's the state. But the reason why you're not doing that is because you don't think violence is bad. You want to feel comfortable, right? You want to feel nice about yourself and your movement or whatever. That's what you want. You want to feel all warm and bubbly inside, right? But you see people light a car on fire allegedly, and you're just like, oh, how dare you do this? How dare, think about the Hyundai Sonata, please. The car had a family. But when it comes to people being black bagged, it's just like, it's, you know, it's not good. Maybe you should just marry them, actually, you know? Maybe just become an immigrants' rights lawyer in 10 years. And then you'll stop whatever happening in 10 years from happening. Cypress, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Much appreciated. I'm confused by this. If you think a powerfully worded tweet won't help sway opinions and actions of individuals, why did you make one? If you did make one anyway, why direct your criticism largely towards the protesters and not the ones inciting the violence? True. Mine was not criticism. I only encourage people to stay safe, as Hexeth is talking about sending in the Marines. I don't want to see any of these protesters die. Sure, he wasn't critiquing violent protests in this tweet. That was very clearly critiquing violent protests. You know, anything for me is that he's using former struggles of immigration as an excuse for his takes, as if that makes a difference. I looked up his background, and his parents are literally refugees and were illegal in America. Well, he's doing what conservatives do, right? And that's just saying like, oh, well, they did it the right way, right? My parents did it the right way, right? They did it the right way. They became citizens, and I started working with immigrant advocacy, and we did it the right way. But you being mad and being mean and super violent or whatever, that's a bad thing. So if somebody like helped his parents violently resist being deported, he would be against it. By the way, he would think, oh, well, you know, they should have gotten their citizenship faster. He's literally doing it like, oh, well, you have to do it the right way, right? And you're not doing it the right way. You're doing it in the wrong way. And I don't appreciate you doing it in the wrong way. You should have married an immigrant, actually. Getting arrested for voluntarily going to a court date, that's doing it wrong. Yeah. But no, have they considered just getting married? I don't know. Oh, they're already married? Well, have they considered marrying somebody else? Maybe they should open up to polyamory. Or maybe they should marry multiple people. Maybe that's their issue. They just didn't get married enough. Have you considered that? I know so many groups in San Francisco Bay, Redwood City area, whose parents are Asian refugees and would be like, we did it the right way all the time. Yeah. It's just so weird to like be like chastising like violent protests. Right? Like, what message do you think that nonviolent protest is sending? Right? What enduring and powerful message is this? And this is the problem with liberalism is like, you can translate this to saying like, oh no, I'm fine with a X number of immigrants being deported so long as my message gets across in 10 years. Right? And that's the question for liberals. How many immigrants are you fine with being deported? How many children are you okay with being deported before violence is okay in your eyes? Genuinely. How many children? 1,000 children being deported? 10,000 children being deported? 1 million children being deported? How many children will it take for you to react in a violent manner? Or is there even a line at all? How many American citizens do? Yeah. How many green card holders need to be deported. And that's the problem with liberalism. So they're okay with every child being deported as long as they're not in the crosshair. Yeah. You should wait 8 years until that 10-year-old is 18, and then you marry that 18-year-old to get them citizenship. That's the best way to serve the immigrant community, chat. Don't you know that that's the best way to serve the immigrant community? Right? You wait till that 10-year-old child is 18 and you marry them. That's what Derek is saying. Right? That's the only thing that he wants. You must marry the children. That's the only way you can help. I mean, genuinely, what else are people supposed to do when their communities are being faced with direct violence? Nonviolence cannot win against direct violence when people are being ripped from their communities. It's only logical that they defend themselves. If you're in a relationship with an undocumented immigrant, you can just make direct impact on their life by marrying them. If it's indeed a legit marriage, not suggesting anyone enter a false marriage for green card reasons. In my opinion, this makes way more of an impact than throwing bottles. That is his legitimate solution. His legitimate solution is just marry undocumented immigrants. Why are you not marrying undocumented immigrants? Fivehead. Don't throw bottles, just marry them. It's like you declare marriage on the spot of deportation. It's just stupid. It is stupid because it makes no sense. Right? Prince says it apparently doesn't matter as people who've been here for decades, marrying a citizen and having children are getting deported. They don't care. Having a green card makes a huge, huge difference. But if the Supreme Court could stop the admin from sending full citizens to foreign prisons, I couldn't stop this admin from sending full citizens to foreign prisons. Do you think that a green card marriage is going to do anything? Even if that worked, your big nonviolent solution is for every undocumented person is to get married right now. His response is, may I ask if you know any undocumented immigrants? If so, have you asked whether a green card would would meaningfully improve their lives? Marriage won't get you a green card anymore. A lot of the people they are deporting are married to U.S. citizens. I believe you're saying two different things. Marrying will put you on a path towards a green card, assuming you pass a series of tests. However, it's true that a green card or even citizenship is not a guarantee against ICE detention or deportation. However, it is a significant improvement from having no papers at all. To give an example, a COVID vaccine would not be 100% effective, but it would be partially effective. If you caught COVID, you're much better off with the vaccine than without it. Some people here have been denying that if ICE detains you, that having citizenship or papers will not meaningfully be a meaningful improvement from having no papers at all. To me, it portrays a lack of understanding that of the situation. I can tell you that not having any papers in the situation is very, very bad, much worse than having a green card holders or citizens. Like he's not listening. He's not listening. Right? Not saying that it's not helpful to have, but how is it a solution to the current problem? How are you supposed to get a green card if ICE is there when you walk to the courthouse? Which is how this whole situation began. Oh my goodness, it's so long. To be honest, it's hard to have this conversation with citizens who are approaching this issue with good intentions, but unwilling to hear the experience and perspective from undocumented immigrants. It feels frustrating. I believe the work to protect immigrants happens way before ICE knocks on your door. As someone who's been a part of this movement for decades, I have seen a swell of angry marches 20 years ago, only for it to die to grumbles afterwards. Not effective action or pressure was taken. A hard, unromantic work of solving the problem, even for one immigrant, is difficult. I was frustrated to see waves of people march angrily 20 years ago die to nothing. Making a sandwich for an immigrant would have been better. So then you're just anti-protest, right? You can't say that. No, I'm not anti-protest. This is an anti-progress protest take, right? He's saying that it would be more useful to make a sandwich for an immigrant than to protest for them. How is that not anti-protest? He doesn't want you to get a person out of a burning building. He wants you to douse them with water and wait and see what happens. Yeah. He's saying, his take is like, he sees a burning building with somebody inside of it. He looks back. He's like, huh. I knew we should have fixed that electrical wiring. I was always pro fixing that electrical wiring. And nobody ever listened to me. And look what happened. That electrical wiring went up in flames. He sees people running around in a house with fire. And people were like trying to run in. He's like, what are you running in there for? And they're like, I'm trying to save that guy who's on fire. Oh, you think that that's going to actually fix house fires? By saving this guy that's in fire? Of course not. You have to go through legislation, right? And put in regulations to actually fix the housing wiring fix. Like, you shouldn't go in there at all, actually. That's actually counterproductive. You're not solving the world by going and saving the person for a house fire. That's what he's saying. He's saying that, like, taking steps to protect the person who is currently on fire is a fool's errand. You must go back in time 10 years, become an electrician, and then fix the wiring yourself. And you have to do that to be effective. He's not living in the moment. He's not focusing on current reality. That people who have green cards are being persecuted. People who are married to American citizens are being persecuted. People who are American citizens are being persecuted. He's not engaging with that reality that's happening currently right now. He's engaging with a fictitious world about, like, yeah, if I were to go back in time, this is what I would do differently. And he's not getting why people are frustrated with him. Because he's not wrong. Yeah, sure. Tackling the root issues to immigration, right, would be effective 10 years ago. And that is important. But we're not living 10 years in the past. We are living currently, right now, in this world. People are being deported right now. Green card holders, people married to American citizens, and American citizens themselves are being detained and deported. People who are going to get documentation, who are in the process of getting documentation, are showing up to their immigration hearings and being detained at those hearings. They're having to be snuck out the back so they're not detained and deported at these hearings. Are you against that? Are you against that one judge who went to distract ICE agents while the immigrant was being taken out the back so that he wasn't deported? Are you anti that? And if you're not, how is that meaningfully different than, like, standing in the road to block the transports? Right? How is it meaningfully different to slashing the transport tires? How is it meaningfully different to throwing bottles and stopping ICE from being able to do what they're doing now? It's not, to me. The only reason he wrote this long post is because he got caught not knowing what he's talking about. Now has to be all, I was the first, actually. I just got here, I could smell the white moderate. Oh, you've correctly sussed it out. Yeah. I'm saying that in the long run, solving this issue, whether everyone here without status or even a single person involves green cards and a pathway to citizenship, how does that work? Tell that to the 9-year-old who's being deported to Honduras. How does that help that person? Please. How does solving this in the long run help the interim? And that's the problem with liberals. They are totally fine with letting people die in the interim so long as there's a potential future where their problems are solved. Will that ever come to pass? Fuck no. No, it won't. It will never come to pass, right? But if they can imagine that it comes to pass in the future, then that's all they need. It's not about saving people in the now. It's not about material reality in the now. It's not about the people who currently have their lives radically changed right now. It's not about them. No, it's about the potential future that may happen, maybe in the future, potentially. And Derek is totally fine letting all of these people die. Derek is totally fine letting all of the current undocumented immigrants be deported. He's fine with that. Who's this guy? Why do we care? He has like 1 million followers on Twitter. He's 1.3 million followers. He's like a menswear guy. Right, but he's a stand-in for like white liberals. Or sorry, he says he's not white. You know what I mean? For like liberals across the country. Vietnamese? Okay. Yeah. Liberal. Across the country. But he's anti-communist? That's kind of funny. Ugh. It's just, it's frustrating.
Deportation, arrest.
Okay, this is just a live feed of the National Guard.
Hello, I'm Nikki Schiller. Welcome to the program. We start this out in Los Angeles. President Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guards into the city.
I will say, I don't mean to plug during this section, we are 20 follows away from 30K. So if you are lurking and you do enjoy my screaming at liberal coverage and you want to drop a follow, I would up and an ad just ran. So it's not like most of them can hear me. Also, chat, I am also live on YouTube. So if you don't want to see ads and an ad happens on Twitch, feel free to just open up another tab and go to my YouTube. Right here. I'm live there as well. Feel free to just open up another YouTube chat. How you doing?
NP Sharky gifted a tier 1 sub to Malrish.
NP Sharky, thank you for the gifted sub.
346 gift subs in the channel.
You don't follow, you're homophobic? True. I was going to say the British news is trying to frame this as rioting too. I pointed out to my dad that the footage only has like 5 to 20 people in it. He's like, oh, yeah. Tectone ships you and denims? What?
Gifted a tier 1 sub to holographic _
What is it even? What are you? Okay.
They
what?
have given 347 gift subs in the channel.
What an odd thing to say. It is an odd thing to say. If that's true, why do you know this? Why do you know this? Y'all watch Tectone? In a video, he's bad-mouthing denims. He said he should go for people in her own league, and he names you. I was watching Denims go over it. How old is he again? Dog's like 40 and bald. Also, if he's talking about me, why did you not answer my DM back? Bro, it's been months. Twin, he won't answer me. He has not told me happy birthday yet. That's supposed to be an insult. Denims is gorgeous. Where your twin is a coward. You just didn't. I told him it was my birthday. He was like, da 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 da. I was like, my bad, twin. I didn't answer you. It was my birthday, and he didn't say happy birthday. It's freaking loud.
Chaos erupts here in LA County. Widespread immigration.
Yeah, Becky throwing her Starbucks.
Chaos erupts here in LA County.
I imagine that was Starbucks.
Widespread immigration raids triggering protests from Paramount to downtown. And tonight, an unlawful assembly has been declared as President Trump announces he will be deploying thousands of National Guard troops here to Los Angeles.
Okay, you don't have to send me a Truth Social link. You can send me the Twitter equivalent. He's declaring victory. Great job. No, I'm not doing Trump accent. I can't do accents. Great job by the National Guard in Los Angeles after 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest. We have an incompetent Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass, who were, as usual, just looking at how to handle, just look at how they're handling the fires. And now they're slowly permitting disaster and federal permitting complete, unable to handle the task. These radical left protesters, by instigating and often paid troublemakers, will not be tolerated. Also, from now on, masks will not be allowed to be worn at protests. What do these people have to hide and why? Again, thank you, National Guard, for a job well done. This is so funny because, again, he just named a Democratic policy, by the way. No masks at protests is a Democratic policy too. It's been a thing that has been slowly being like disseminated in like DC. My home state, North Carolina, has a no mask at protest law, or an anti-public masking law. So like, again, this is like both sides are aligned on that specific point, right? I know the anti-mask thing was actually about protesting. Yeah, it always is. But yeah. Also, yeah, ICE does also wear masks. So, do cops still get to wear masks? Probably. Right? Like, yeah. The most populated wealthy county in New York, outside of the city, banned masks. Yeah. No more freedom of expression. No more freedom of expression. Just, you know, they can now decide what you can wear, what you can't wear. You don't even have the right to cover your face in public. In public. Wait, my loop. This is isn't the first time I've heard about them not being able to wear mask things. He's trying to ban masks in general. I think like you can't make a law from Truth Social. Like you need to at least sign something. You can't just say, also I decree no more masks at protests. I've decreed this from my Truth Social. Therefore it is now law. Like that's not how that works. True. I buy the courage of people protesting ICE in California. Is it enforced? Not really. Not yet. I mean, you can't enforce a law that doesn't exist on the books. Technically, like, you know, in theory. And so he still needs to sign like an executive order or something banning it. But again, you can't make a decree on Truth Social, and therefore it's now a thing. Again, he's not king yet. So there are some countries that have masks banned. What are you talking about, chatter? instead of counties. Like I'm talking about like federally, not countries. Like you just described what I've said. I hate this so much. It happens all the time. People who just describe what I say back to me, but just by saying nah, like as if I said something incorrect or wrong. Did I not just say that there are specific areas in the country that have mask banned? Did I not name DC and North Carolina as some specific areas that have mask banned? You're just describing back to me what I've just described, but saying it as though I did not say that, and that you're presenting new information. Right? There is a precedent for like Democrats banning masks in public in some blue districts, right? In blue states, right? And now like Trump is eyeing to make this like a federal provision.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 10.
Wait, was I watching this one or was I watching? Oh, this is me again. No, not this one. Not this one. This one.
To counter escalating protests in a predominantly Hispanic district of the Californian city. It comes after a second day of clashes between residents of Paramount and border immigration officers trying to implement President Trump's policy to deport unauthorized migrants. Now, federal ICE agents used tear gas, flashbangs and batons to disperse the protesters. The White House border policy chief has gone to Los Angeles to personally supervise the operation, during which more than 40 migrants were arrested on Saturday. He warned that there would be zero tolerance of any violence or damage to private property. The mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, said ICE was sowing terror in America's second largest city. Well, announcing the order deploying the National Guard, the White House said the administration has a zero...
Also, now that we're back from ads, I have to say, if you are a lurker and you don't yet follow me, we are 11 follows away. 11 follows away from 30K on Twitch. If you want to do me a solid and drop a follow, I would appreciate that. I'm not even asking for your money yet. Just as a follow. It's free. It's free.
Tolerance policy for criminal behavior and violence.
At 30K, we do a 30-hour
especially
stream.
when that violence
30-hour stream at 30K.
is aimed at law enforcement officers
Oh,
trying.
we're almost there. We're getting close. Now we're like 8 away. 8 away. 8 away. 8 away. 8 away.
To do their jobs. These criminals will be arrested and swiftly brought to justice. The Commander-in-Chief will ensure the laws of the United States are
6 away. 6 away. We're almost there. Are you streaming on TikTok? I'm not streaming on TikTok. Time flies. Time does fly. 2 years and 1 month is crazy. 2 years. Okay, it doesn't work if you unfollow and then refollow, chat. That's not how that works. $30K freestyle celebration? Probably not. If we're 5 away, tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, tell your boyfriends, tell your aunts and uncles and neighbors. Tell the new undocumented immigrant you're gonna marry, according to Derek. Do your part, chat.
are executed fully and completely. Well, I want to show you some of the
Oh,
latest.
actually, I want to see this one instead. This is more
So
important.
we start with that breaking news. Calamity and chaos in the city after a second day of ICE raids on undocumented immigrants.
The raids led to more violent clashes between federal agents and protesters with President.
Wait, okay. Somebody left their phone on and their phone dinged. Did y'all hear that, chat? Am I hallucinating that? Let's listen pretty closely.
Immigrants.
The raids led to more violent clashes between federal agents and protesters with.
Here it was like dun, 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 dun. I heard it.
Immigrants. The raids led to more violent clashes between federal agents and protesters with President Trump.
I heard it. 30K, freestyle celebration? Probably not. If we're 5 away, tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, tell your boyfriends, tell your aunts and uncles and neighbors. Tell the new undocumented immigrant you're gonna marry, according to Derek.
The raids led to more violent clashes between federal agents and protesters, with President Donald Trump now deploying the National Guard, he says, to restore order. KTLA's Jennifer McGraw live in downtown LA as more National Guardsmen.
Quarantine Wolf, thank you for the 2-month resubscription.
Quarantine Wolf just subscribed. Alu.
Much appreciated. Also, chat, we're still 5 away. 4 away.
Continue arriving, and we know local leaders, our governor, are opposed to this move, Jennifer.
Yeah, Governor Newsom says that this is just causing.
And they said, what is Twitch? You gotta explain it to them.
A spectacle, but Trump says that this absolutely
2
needs
away.
to be.
2 more. 2 more, chat. We are 2 away. 1 away from 30K. Yo! Yo! We did it. 30,000 followers is insane. That's crazy. I don't have much to add to that. Within 2 days, we hit 30,000 followers on Twitch, and we hit 15,000 followers on YouTube. We're kind of popping off, chat. We are kind of popping off. Well deserved, thank you. 100K this year? 100K is a bit far. My goals said 50K. 30-hour only upstream. That would be crazy. I could play only up. I can play only up. That's fine. But yeah, for 30K, we're gonna do a 30-hour stream. Not starting today. I have work to do tomorrow. But starting sometime within the next month. Probably starting on a Saturday going into Sunday, or maybe starting on a Friday going into Saturday.
They have given 5 gift subs in the channel.
Just found your account today and loving the coverage. Keep it up for real. Thank you. How'd you find me? I'm curious. I always like to see how people are finding me. Like it shows what I should focus on. Mr. Noobster, thank you for the gifted sub. Much appreciated. Really came at the end of the summer. I am manifesting it. Honestly, that would be possible if I just did more collabs. I was looking for coverage of the protest. Oh, that's fair. Through Hassan, that makes sense. Trying to do Hasanabi, that also makes sense. Crocodile in Denial, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Much appreciated. Trying to do YouTube recommendation. That's the plan. Saw you in live channels on the Twitch side panel. Really? I didn't know that actually worked. Tried to do Hassan a long time ago. Through Hassan, fair. Trying to do Arun. That's interesting. You popped up on my live channels list probably because I was watching LA Protest yesterday. Oh, that's fair as well. First saw you on TikTok. That's also fair. Miguel? I don't know who Miguel is, but thank you. All eyes on the Freedom Flotilla. We'll talk about the flotilla as well. And what Israel is saying about the flotilla. That'll be the next story that we cover. But I want to make sure that I get through all of the protest news. Twitch side panel, you're talking about DBZ, and I enjoyed the politics. W. I was actually aware of you, but never knew you streamed live. Really? It's kind of all I do now, a little bit. But yeah, welcome in. Mike from PA's Miguel. Ah. Carter, I thought I followed like months ago and I wasn't. That's how it be. Waiting for me 6 trip at the Stream Awards. I found out about you through Ludwig. Shut up, Jim. Me too. I thought you were on YouTube for some reason. To be fair, I did start on YouTube. I just stopped posting on YouTube because it just took up too much of my time. Which is why going live on YouTube brings some people back in. Carter discovered having the protest in the video title changes the TCL to auto apply. So you get the drama gets around it. Really? Is the do I have the CCL on right now? Actually, I can probably check. I don't see the CCL tag. I very frequently come here because of the YouTube recommendations. Heard about you through you hung out with Graham and the gang at TwitchCon. I remember. But I don't think. Okay, it's fine then. LA drama. I've seen Caroline and Hassan cover some takes. Which takes? It's applying during the live coverage. I'm not seeing it at the moment though. Find it through Hassan or FD. That's fair. Not yet, but you will have it. Find the H3 Snark. Goated. Appreciate you. Good to know I have a wide range of avenues that people find me through. Right? Can't have all your eggs in one basket. I googled good Ebanata and round up here. I don't know how. That's so funny. I knew of you from Hassan, but one day a couple months ago, nobody I was subbed to was live. And you were the first pop up on my recommendation. I was like, oh, I know that guy. Let's take a look. And the rest is history. Huh. She found you through Mari or LB. That makes sense. Found you through the secret OnlyFans. Shh. It's secret for a reason. But yeah, welcome in all the chatters. Thanks for 30K. We're gonna have to like bake a cake or something. Always need more black leftist creators. True, I do agree. I am the largest black leftist creator on Twitch. Well, I was before people started snaking in on my territory. That was a joke.
Done to protect federal agents. Now we've already seen hundreds of military personnel arrive here to
You found me through Becky. It's Becky.
Downtown Los Angeles. It's crazy. Take a look to see military personnel coming downtown. The last time we saw this was in 2020 with the death of George Floyd, with another day of violent clashes with protesters.
Cake. You know, I would do that if I had an avenue or an inroad with Cutie, and I don't. So that's not happening. I don't think so.
And law enforcement, the president.
I'm not as connected as y'all think I am. You do? Chat, I'm not as connected as y'all think I am. Through Maya. I'm not gonna go to Maya and be like, Maya, connect me with Cutie. I want to make a cake with her. That would be crazy. You don't. That's like kind of like uncouth. You don't do stuff like that. I get on whine about it first. Pokey crossover win.
Administration is sending at least 2,000 National Guard troops here.
Effortlessly sassy charisma. I'm sure Cutie isn't that cold and heartless. I appreciate the vote of confidence, chat. I do.
Here to Los Angeles. And again, the last time we saw this was back in 2020, but they want to make sure that the city is safe. Again, for the second day in a row, protesters were outside the federal detention facility here in downtown LA, chanting and holding signs. There is also spray paint all over the city buildings, rubber bullets all over the streets, and of course, a scent of pepper spray in the air. These demonstrations have escalated throughout the day into a fiery, tumultuous clash with federal agents. What started out as chanting turned violent, with fires being
I believe that there is another protest today.
Set, objects being thrown at officers, and that's when the LAPD and deputies began to clear the scene. These arrests and raids are causing an uproar across the city, and as we know, they will likely continue.
We're here to be peaceful. We're here to speak up against the injustices we're seeing in the world, and that's why we're here.
I witnessed most of the protesters being pretty peaceful, being pretty active, being in support of people unlawfully being detained.
As more raids were carried out across the city of Paramount yesterday, tensions between city, state, and federal leaders escalated, with Governor Newsom and the president trading statements on social media about the National Guard being deployed. We also wanted to catch up with U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley about the recent raids.
Yeah, the only terrorists I see are the ones who are throwing Molotov cocktails at our federal agents, the ones throwing rocks at them, the ones attacking our officers, the ones impeding them. They are the ones who are lawless. Our officers are following the law.
Label,
we are enforcing the law.
Chat? and how what we know about that label and how it's used.
As written by Congress, we are executing warrants signed by federal judges. We're doing our job, and we're doing the task that the American people voted for in November. This is what they voted for. And no matter how many people show up, it's not going to stop us. We did all of our operations successfully.
And as we know, down here in downtown Los Angeles, as the protests will begin likely this morning and go throughout the day, there's one plan already at 2 o'clock, but the National Guard will be ready and waiting. And as we know,
like, look how ready they are. Look at this man. He's so ready.
there's one plan already at 2 o'clock, but the National Guard will be ready and waiting. And as we know, the LAPD and the Sheriff's Department, they're not assisting in these raids, but they are assisting with keeping the peace here in the city. That's the very latest. We're live downtown. Back to you in Hollywood.
Jennifer, thank you. Tensions between federal agents and protesters igniting yesterday during clashes in the cities of Compton and Paramount.
Local law enforcement stepping in to assist after gatherings were declared unlawful. KTLA's Aaron Myers is joining us live in the city of Compton this morning with the very latest developments. What's going on out there, Aaron?
Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Lauren. Right now it is pretty quiet here. We have seen residents walking around, but it is a mess. I'll go ahead and step out of the way. You can see here on Alondra Boulevard near the 710, a lot of debris still in the street here after yesterday's protest. The protests were in Paramount and here in Compton as well. And tensions, they did escalate throughout the day.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a mess because of all of this that the cops are throwing, maybe. And then they just left it and then didn't clean it up.
The mayor of Paramount says ICE and other federal law enforcement agents were apparently staging near the Home Depot in Paramount yesterday morning when they were met by protesters who...
Thank you. It's from TwitchCon. It's a TwitchCon hoodie. Technically, it's like a, I don't know, it's a crew neck-ish thing.
Gathered in the area. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said that deputies were dispatched shortly after 10 a.m. to the 6400 block of Alondra Boulevard for reports of a large group blocking traffic. Crowds were also seen blocking a U.S. Marshals bus. Some hurled rocks and other objects at law enforcement, according to the Sheriff's Department. And law enforcement, well, they responded with pepper balls, rubber bullets, tear gas, and flashbangs.
People were just gathering in community, trying to, make a statement that we don't want ICE agents here in Compton, in Los Angeles, in California, period.
A wooden pallet and then a car went up in flames during the unrest, sending black smoke in the air. And the demonstrations continued into the night, where businesses in the area were vandalized.
That car had a family. Think about the car's family.
One man seen in handcuffs, possibly injured with blood running down his face. The Sheriff's Department says it was not involved in any federal law enforcement operations or actions. They were here for traffic and crowd control, saying, though, when federal authorities come under attack and request assistance, they will support them and provide aid. They also said, though, their primary responsibility is ensuring public safety.
Anybody has the right to peacefully assemble and exercise their First Amendment rights, but when that crosses the line to where you are attacking other people, utilizing violence, or
why does this not extend to the cops?
Or any destruction of property, that's where we as a department have to step in, warn people, and people may
warn them by throwing flashbangs. Oh, thank you for that warning. Thank you so much.
Arrested.
Now, we did drive by the Home Depot this morning and it was quiet, and it is peaceful, quiet here right now, but residents definitely concerned that we could see more protests in this area. The Sheriff's Department, I spoke with them this morning. They tell me they did make 2 arrests yesterday for assault on a peace officer and that 3 deputies suffered minor injuries. Reporting live here in Compton.
Gasp, what about the car? What about the car? Think about the car and the car's future. But yeah, that's where the story currently sits right now. The live coverage here has ended. So only time will tell how the protests escalate from here. And what that means when the police response inevitably escalates because the what's it called? National Guard is now on the ground. I just spotted in Pasadena 30 minutes ago. I can't look at this. I need it. It says sign in required. I freaking hate Blue Sky. I cannot stand it. What? This isn't real, right?
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist. Okay? I live when I believe.
C Cloud_8 just subscribed.
It's real. It's gross. Jubilee is an op organization. Well, no, that implies that they were actually on the side. Ugh. I got a link to his charity. Stop. C Cloud, thank you for the 6-month resubscription. I can't. I'm confused. I thought this guy was pro-Palestine. That's what Ethan Klein told me. But yeah. Now we just wait and see about the rest of the protest. I know Asman also had a
Violet Drip just subscribed.
Violet Drip, thank you for the tier 1 subscription. Much appreciated. Chat, do me a solid and check in if you have a Prime account. You can connect to your Twitch account. If you can do that, I would appreciate it if you use that here. But I just want to show you this. Thousands marching in Los Angeles against a blitz of multiple ICE raids from the PSL. Anonymous gives, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Much appreciated. And in response to this, Stephen Miller, who we all know and love, said foreign flags flying in American cities to defend the invasion and defy federal law. And then Asmongold then added, an easy way to check if a protest is in America is the flags. If they're all for one country, not America. If there are a bunch of random countries plus Pride identity flags, America. This was an interesting tweet from Asman, cause like I checked this, I was just like, if you just type in Ireland pro-Palestine protests, like you can type in any country. Japan pro-Palestine protests. They fly other flags in other countries' protests as well. This is kind of what they do. Is Japan America? Yeah, it's a Tokyo, USA. How could I forget? How could I forget? Like, wouldn't they protest for anything? But also, this doesn't make sense because, like, is or is not America a melting pot? Is this country a country of immigrants or is it not? People fly like Irish flags outside of their not Irish, sorry, their Italian flags outside of their pizzerias. Can you not fly in a flag of Italy outside of a pizzeria? Now that's illegal. You can't rep your home country. You can't do this? Mamma mia. It just doesn't make any sense. They're ultra nationalists. They don't care. Yeah. Does this mean we're making a Confederate flag illegal? Oh, definitely not. Come on. Let's be serious here. My boomer next door neighbor has a flag of Ireland out on St. Patrick's Day. To jail with him. To jail. As well would call the Italian flag the pizza flag. Bold of you to assume that he knows what the Italian flag looks like. But yeah, that's the protests, and we're waiting to see because like there are, I heard protests happening today as well. So we're gonna see what that's about. I do kind of want to see this video as well about cooking with Kaya. I was gonna eat pizza, too much vegetables. Even the sauce is too much. Tomatoes a fruit. But also brief news. Also in the wait and see territory. IDF told to take whatever measures necessary to stop Greta Thunberg's aid boat from reaching Gaza. The climate campaigner is one of 12 activists aboard the vessel, which is operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition and aims to break Israel's sea blockade. Now, we still don't know what this means. But the Israeli defense minister has threatened to take whatever measures necessary to stop the aid boat carrying Greta Thunberg to reaching Gaza. He said he will sink it. Is there a video? I don't know, it's a tweet. Minister Katz made a tweet about threatening the flotilla ship with Greta Thunberg that's heading to Gaza, say it will prevent the ship sink if they come close to Gaza. I have instructed the IDF to act to prevent the Mandolin hate flotilla from reaching the shores of Gaza and to take whatever measures necessary to that end. To the anti-Semitic Greta and her fellow Hamas propaganda spokespeople, I say clearly, you should turn back because you will not reach Gaza. Israel will act against any attempt to break the blockade or assist terrorist organizations at sea, in the air, and on land. Yeah, this as well for the Asman tweet. The same politician saying flying the Mexican flag in LA is called for deportation to have an office like this. What does it mean by mandolin? 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 I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it means boat. But yeah. I don't know. It's very hard to say what this is gonna look like and what it's gonna mean. I wouldn't put it past Israel to sink the ship. But the flotilla has demonstrated that they're not going to stop. And the closer they get to the shore, the signal got jammed. What is his name? Mandolin? Oh, is it Madeline? Madeline. Madeline. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll call it the ship, the boat. Madeline. The name Madeline after the first Palestinian fisherwoman. Madeline? Okay, I feel like y'all are... give me different pronunciations. Flotilla is the fun word. I do like flotilla. Live stream tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. I am a bit fearful. Right? I'm not a, like, you know, imagine the worst kind of person. I'm more of a prepare for the worst kind of person, but I am a bit fearful. My prediction is that they're going to wait until the boat is just about to reach Gaza, sink it, and then blame it on Hamas. I mean, they are going to try to do that, but also they've said that they're going to sink it. Like, that's what they've said. So they're live right now. The last pronunciation was correct. What was my last pronunciation? Madeline? They are live right now.
We are here for humanity because we want to uphold human rights, and we want to do exactly what our governments are not doing.
Absolutely. I think we're actually joined now by someone from Gaza. Hazem, financial fact on a smack.
Oh, okay. I fixed the way that looked. But I don't know. I'm fearful. This is genuinely a wait and see situation. But like I'm fearful. Urgent, the Freedom Flotilla is experiencing heavy GPS and network jamming. The occupation has sent 3 ships towards us. These are critical moments. Keep us in your prayers. They need your support. Comment Palestinian flag, boat, spread their voice. Israeli sources said that Israel has so far refrained from attacking the Madeleine because of the presence of Rima Hassan, a European diplomat, on board. Israel is waiting for the ship to enter territorial waters off the coast of Gaza in the coming hours, intercepted and forcibly escorted to the port of Ashdod. I don't know. I don't think Israel cares necessarily about who is on board, because they haven't previously. Like, people thought the same thing about like American citizens having some level of protection from the state of Israel, and they have demonstrated that that's not the case. Not saying that Instagram post is inaccurate. I'm just saying that like it's very hard to tell, right? It's very hard to tell exactly how Israel is going to operate here, right? We just don't know. See that Bloomberg was reporting Israel supporting ISIS gangs in Gaza? I saw Western media are very hesitant to call them ISIS gangs or ISIS affiliated militia groups. But a Palestinian militia group operating with tacit approval from Israel has surfaced in Gaza, offering a prospective post-war alternative to Hamas governance. Man, thanks so much, Bloomberg News. What fantastic and great framing this is. And not that Israel is funding ISIS-affiliated groups to steal aid, right? And to create an Israeli proxy to serve as an alternative to Hamas in Gaza. You know, just a group of Palestinians that have been armed somehow, some way. We just have no idea how they've been armed. are now operating as a counterbalance to Hamas. You know, Israel is ISIS, to be fair. I think that there's a level of, I think there's a productive nature to drawing a distinction, but they do work together for sure. What? No way they indoctrinated children on a boat to go search for Greta Thunberg? What?
We're the children of Israel. We're looking for Greta's boat. We have something to say to you all. Are you with me, guys? Yes! We're coming to get you. Woo! Children say the truth. Greta Thunberg, when you were a child, you wanted the good, not the evil. You wanted to protect the world. How come you suddenly became a supporter of terror? You talk about genocide. How can you not condemn the horrors of October 7th? If you want to provide food to the people of Gaza, I suggest you condemn Hamas, because
this child know not what he is saying. He's saying if you want to give aid to starving Palestinians, you must condemn Hamas first. You must condemn Hamas to serve starving Palestinians. Do they not realize, I mean, these are children, right? But does Israeli society not realize how bad it looks that they are the guardsmen to the door of feeding Palestinians? That is the problem. They are demonstrating why Israeli occupation is a problem, because Israel gets to decide what aid gets in and out. You're like, you must condemn Hamas first. You must condemn Hamas first. If you want to feed the child, you must condemn Hamas. If you want to give the child bread, you must condemn Hamas first. If you don't condemn Hamas, I won't let you feed the child. I will let that child starve unless you condemn Hamas right now. Like Israel having that power, which they had before October 7th, by the way. The ability to turn off like food and water and fuel and electricity being supplied into the Gaza Strip. They had the ability to do that before October 7th. Right? Which is crazy. They should not be able to do that. But she's the one filming, one of those crazy settler ladies who's the most racist of all time. Israel, hey guys, let's get our Hitler youth on a boat to read a script about how we make aid contingent on loyalty. Exactly. It's crazy. Ireland has a word for this, by the way. It's superism. People in Ireland were offered food in exchange for their loyalty to the British Empire. It's so gross. It's so gross.
the truth is that Hamas...
And also a war crime, by the way. Like, let's not mince any words here. That is it's a very direct war crime that they are... this child is admitted that Israel is committing.
Taking all the food from the people of Gaza.
Yeah, thank you for the 24 months. Huge W, much appreciated.
Israel. And what about the hostages? Are you going to give them any food? I invite you to meet me.
Yes!
And I will show you...
Yes, child, the hostages that are still in Gaza will also be fed. Are you acknowledging that the hostages currently have no food right now when they are also being starved? This kid is stupid. He's literally giving the game away. Not that, like, Israeli society at large doesn't give the game away all the time, right? But he's like, so what? Are you going to give the food to the hostages that are in Gaza as well that currently have no food? What about the hostages that are also starving? You're going to give them food too? Who is starving the hostages, child?
What the children of Israel are going through. I hope that you will wake up and understand that you're on the wrong side of history. You know children always say the truth, and I hope that you will see that. Am Israel Chai. We're the children of Israel.
This has to be a war crime as well. not just for my ears, having to hear to like the Hitler Youth speak about why it's okay for them to starve the Gazan population, but just on the children as well. You know what I mean? Like using your children as a part of your propaganda network in order to genocide a group of people, I feel like should be illegal on international standards. On top of committing the atrocities in the first place, right? Yeah, somebody should call international CPS for sure. For sure, it's so gross. It's so gross. Wait, it tells me if a video is age restricted. That's a pretty cool feature. Is it? I don't know. It's what it says when I hover over it. I was gonna start using kids to say immigrants are bad and they want to be safe. Oh, we're almost there. Children, families are always truthful except when they're propaganda mouthpieces. Yeah. It's so gross. That's so gross. I hated everything about that. I've not seen this, no. How did he even get this? Okay. Close. 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 Sorry, I'm trying to clear up all my tabs. Close. Okay.
One, two.
Okay. Here, watch this for a second. I'll be right back, chat. I use the bathroom.
A bright young man comes to the U.S. to study. He meets the love of his life. She's from the Midwest. They settle down, get married, and are about to start a family. That's a story that could describe so many New Yorkers across the city. 3 months ago today, right here in this lobby, this was Mahmoud Khalil, his wife Noor, and their soon-to-be-born child.
Let's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand. He's not resisting. Like...
There's no need for this. Don't worry about it. You're gonna have to come with us. Don't worry. I'm coming with you. No worries.
Mahmoud was born to Palestinian parents in a refugee camp in Syria, and Noor was born in Michigan. On March 8th, Mahmoud was forcibly abducted by ICE agents who had followed him home. His wife asked the most basic questions.
Can we get your name?
We don't give her name.
What was he charged with? Where were they taking him? But she received no answers.
حبيبي كيف بدي أتصل فيك؟ Okay.
ICE claims Mahmoud tried to flee, but footage shows he clearly did not. Days later, it was finally revealed that Mahmoud had been taken to a jail in rural Louisiana, where he's been held for 3 months in perilous conditions. He was only recently granted a brief visitation with his wife Noor and their newborn son Dean, whose birth he could not witness. Mahmoud is a permanent resident, the same legal status that more than 600,000 New Yorkers have today, and that I once had myself. But he has been denied basic constitutional rights and detained simply for political speech. Mahmoud Khalil, like thousands of other New Yorkers, was standing up for Palestinian human rights, and for that he was threatened. But when he shared concerns about his safety with Columbia University, they did nothing to stand in ICE's way. Mahmoud is a New Yorker, just like you and me. There's been no accountability for his abduction, his total denial of rights, and for Columbia University and this city's failure to protect him. New York is a sanctuary city, but Eric Adams has allowed ICE to operate in our neighborhoods and on our campuses with impunity. This is a moment to speak in one voice for the First Amendment and to free Mahmoud.
Sorry, I'm back now. One more time.
A bright young man comes to the U.S. to study. He meets the love of his life. She's from the Midwest. They settle down, get married, and are about to start a family. That's a story that could describe so many New Yorkers across this city. 3 months ago today, right here in this lobby, this was Mahmoud Khalil, his wife Noor, and their soon-to-be-born child.
That's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not. I understand. He's not resisting. Like.
Don't worry about it. You're gonna have to come with us. Don't worry about it.
Mahmoud was born to Palestinian parents in a refugee camp in Syria, and Noor was born in Michigan. On March 8th, Mahmoud was forcibly abducted by ICE agents who had followed him home. His wife asked the most basic questions.
Can we get your name?
We don't give our name.
What was he charged with? Where were they taking him? But she received no answers.
حبيبي كيف بدي أتصل فيك؟
And I want to contextualize this by not to keep bringing up Derek, but Derek's freaking tweet is so stupid that like I think it needs this context. His response to this is just let it happen. Sorry, sweaty. Should have gotten married. Oh, you did get married? Oh, well, so what? Right? It would be unacceptable to Derek if you resisted this.
Okay.
ICE claims Mahmoud tried to flee, but footage shows he clearly did not. Days later, it was finally revealed that Mahmoud had been taken to a jail in rural Louisiana, where he's been held for 3 months in perilous conditions. He was only recently granted a brief visitation with his wife Noor and their newborn son Dean, whose birth he could not witness. Mahmoud is a permanent resident, the same legal status that more than 600,000 New Yorkers have today, and that I once had myself. But he has been denied basic constitutional rights and detained simply for political speech. Mahmoud Khalil, like thousands of other New Yorkers, was standing up for Palestinian human rights, and for that he was threatened. But when he shared concerns about his safety with Columbia University, they did nothing to stand in ICE's way. Mahmoud is a New Yorker, just like you and me. There's been no accountability for his abduction, his total denial of rights, and for Columbia University and this city's failure to protect him. New York is a sanctuary city, but Eric Adams has allowed ICE to operate in our neighborhoods and on our campuses with impunity. This is a moment to speak in one voice for the First Amendment and to free Mahmoud.
He needs to. I need Zoran to win. I need him to win. Because obviously it's not gonna like save the country or whatever, but like it feels like the rest of the Democratic Party just in general just kind of like rolled over and it's like just rolled over. And having a prominent Democrat just speaking out. Just in general. It feels just it's not happening enough. But yeah. Dean is like, sorry, you must let this happen. And you must not ever resist violently to this. You must hold a sign outside of where, like, if you witness this happening, right? A legal permanent resident being black-bagged and taken and shipped to like 4, 5, 6, 7 states away, right? You must let it happen. You can stand side by side holding a sign. I don't approve of you doing this. I don't approve of you doing this. That's as much as you can do. That is as much as you can do. Winning this mayoralship would be a huge win for socialism in America. Don't show me this, bro, please. I know it to be true. What makes me sad when I see it? DNC chair says in leaked audio, I don't know what if I want to do this anymore. Look at my opposition party, dog. Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin told, which he was so gung-ho. Ken Martin was so gung-ho about being the chair. told party leaders in a recent private conversation that he is unsure about his ability to lead the party because of his infighting created by Vice Chair David Hogg. I'll be honest with you, for the first time in my 100 days in this job, the other night I told myself for the first time, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Should have given it to AOC. This party's cooked. I read more of the article. I wouldn't take that part seriously. The real pain is that the leadership he wants is not what the people want. Nah, I don't know. I'm gonna take a look at it, but like that's still crazy. K. Barton didn't have it. Clearly, David did, and they crucified David for it. Right, and by it is literally just conviction. Like I have like beef with David to a certain extent, but like it's just conviction. K. Barton just doesn't have conviction. And that's kind of how you get to that position in the first place. You run for the seat and take Gavin's seat. I can't even run for a seat in California. I haven't lived here long enough to establish residency. So that's not happening. I think all these people dying in the terms what really screwed Ken. Well, that is a problem that like is created by like Ken and his ilk's ideology. Their adherence to like seniority and party norms is what allowed that to continue in the first place. Not Ken himself. This happened after he was elected chair, right? But this is what the moderate wing of liberal normalcy does to you, right? You of course are gonna have people 80 years old in Congress if you're so adhered to seniority, because they were adhered to seniority when they were, when they were 40 and 50. They were like, oh, if I wait my term when I'm 70, the party will reward me. And now they're being rewarded. And the people who are 40 and 50 now are like, okay, if I reward the people who are 70 now, who are 80 now, with, being reelected with these positions, right? When I'm that age, people will reward me as well. That's what they're so adhered to seniority and party normalcy that it cucks the party in general. That's why the Democrats are failing, right? David is a lib who went through it. He got golden boy treatment after being in a school shooting, completed with the Ivy League acceptance when he saw liberaldom be insufficient, as many Obama-era liberals did. He said as much, and they turned on him. Yeah. Yeah. And I genuinely hope this radicalizes David Hogg, right? I hope this radicalizes him against the Democratic Party. Not saying that he has to leave it, but that he understands that like this association with the moderate liberal norms is going to get you nowhere, right? It's not going to do for you what you want it to do. It just won't. But yeah, I think I spoke on most of what I wanted to speak on when it came to these things. And I think we'll revisit the flotilla thing after the stream ends a little bit, maybe tomorrow as well, to see what's going on with that. But I am curious about this video from Foreign Man in a Foreign Land. It's the same with liberals and capitalism. They take the pain now, hoping that one day they magically own capital. Yeah. About cooking with Kaya. Actually, you know what? I think I'll watch this off stream or watch this tomorrow because I am a bit tired. Invincible's fighting game. Invincible has a fighting game. I think I covered a lot today. Did my traditional normal 4 hours. Not Kaya as in Kaya. But yeah, I do have to edit the video for today because I didn't post one this morning. To keep my one video a day thing coming. Yeah, any final thoughts? I know one of y'all would watch the stupid Jubilee video. And if there's any good points, you'll just send it to me. Not me. I ain't watching that crap. Me neither. I haven't seen Jubilee in a year. Cause I can't with Jubilee. I cannot. I will say, thank you for 30K. My phone's dead. I said this in Discord, but the segment of the protest basics would make a great YouTube short or TikTok if I get around to editing it. But I appreciate it. I try to be safe and look up protest tips within 30-hour stream. Whenever I have time to do it. Maybe this next weekend coming up. But I'll make a plan. Road to 50K, yeah. Yeah, 15K on YouTube, 30K on Twitch. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the... Ow, I bit my tongue. Thanks for all the support. Jeez Louise. What's your YouTube goal for the year? Honestly, 50K on both. I think 50K on YouTube is a lot more doable. I got 1K followers in like 5 days. Right? It's definitely possible if I continue posting. You were 20K mid-January for YouTube or for Twitch? I mean, you can check. Live, just scroll back to my first stream 5 months ago. 5 months ago, is multi-streaming viable? Maybe I'll do like a retrospective of like how much multi-streaming has helped my career. Because this is my first stream on YouTube. Is multi-streaming viable? I was playing music and everything. Let's see. Yeah, I had 20,000 followers 6 months ago. So I need to be gaining followers a little bit faster in order to hit 50K by end of the year. Right, but from my 5 months on YouTube, multi-streaming, how much has this helped? Because I started off, right, getting like 500, 700 views, 200, 300, 300, 200, 200, to now getting 2K, 1K, 1K, 900, 1.7K, 1.1K. So like, I'm getting way more views on my YouTube live streams than I used to. And so at least there are more people who watch me. And how that translated to growth on my Twitch, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna do that. And I have to edit. And I have to eat. I'm hungry. And a few other things. Ever do shared chats on Twitch and YouTube? No. But if you have ideas for my 30-hour stream, let me know in the Discord. I would appreciate that. If you have guests that you want to see or something like that, let me know. I may or may not reach out to them. Who knows? And yeah. If that's it. Also, buy YouTube chat before I start playing music. Adios.